Chapter 121. These bastards are making fun of me. Aoi glanced at Chu Ning and the others and said, "Sixth senior sister can make fun of us." Mo Chen smiled. Among the 13 second-generation disciples of Yu Yangyu at Taishan Peak, Aoi was the most gentle. Your sixth senior sister was so excited that she slammed the table. Yang Lei said with a smile. Hee, that must be a rare scene. Mo Chen and Chu Lingfei sat down and said. After eating, Night Sorrow wiped his mouth and looked at Mo Chen. 11th senior brother, after eating, let's spar. No, I want to drink tea after eating. Mo Chen shook his head. He wasn't willing to spar with Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow was like a porcupine. Mo Chen couldn't even take him down with his rank 2 cultivation. Then let's go after drinking tea. Night Sorrow nodded and said. After drinking tea, I still want to take a stroll. Don't wait for me. Mo Chen was a bit annoyed. He didn't want to, but Night Sorrow didn't want to let him go. Hey. Listen, your 13th uncle wants to spar with 11th uncle. Your 11th uncle wants to drink tea and take a stroll. Can we wait for a while? Aoi stood up and clapped her hands. I won't take a stroll, okay? Let's go and spar now. After being shouted by Aoi, how could Mo Chen continue to refuse? After exiting the dining room, everyone arrived at the martial arts practice field. 13, come. I'll let you attack. Mo Chen waved his long sword and said. He knew that attacking was useless. It wasn't easy to break through Night Sorrow's wind-chasing spear technique. It would be difficult to do anything against a short spear. Thus, he decided not to attack. Then I'm coming. Night Sorrow waved his reincarnation spear and smashed it in front of Mo Chen. 13, attack with all your strength. Otherwise, the spar will be meaningless. Yang Lei shouted. Night Sorrow nodded and unleashed his chasing wind spear technique with all his might, attacking Mo Chen with all his might. Hearing the sound of the reincarnation spear piercing through the air, Mo Chen's expression changed. He dodged to the side and slashed his sword towards Night Sorrow's reincarnation spear. Ding! The weapons clashed. Night Sorrow's reincarnation spear was blocked, but Mo Chen's long sword was also blocked. With a flick of his wrist, Night Sorrow's reincarnation spear returned to its original route and continued to attack Mo Chen. On Mo Chen's side, he followed his sword. He no longer used his long sword to slash or block because he would receive the recoil from the vibration force of Night Sorrow's reincarnation spear. Mo Chen's long sword continuously stabbed and pointed, controlling Night Sorrow's reincarnation spear to attack. Their weapons continued to clash. It was hard to tell who had the upper hand. Yishang's strength was great, but Mo Chen's true qi, which was at the peak of the 2nd level, was not fake. He could completely negate it, so he was not at a disadvantage. The two began to compete with their body techniques. They circled around each other and attacked. If they couldn't dodge, they would use their weapons to resolve the situation. 13th uncle is too monstrous to be able to fight with 11th martial uncle to this extent. Nangong Dai said with some emotion. Just as Nangong Dai was speaking, the situation changed. 13th uncle, are you cheating? Mo Chen was pushed back. When Night Sorrow's reincarnation spear clashed with Mo Chen's long sword, he not only used his strength on the tip of the spear, but also added 39 waves of vibration force. Mo Chen, who was caught off guard, was pushed back in an instant. After pushing Mo Chen back, Night Sorrow took a few steps and caught up with Mo Chen. His reincarnation spear was like a flood dragon that continuously attacked Mo Chen. Before entering the element gathering realm, Night Sorrow's vibration force was not very stable. When he was in the 6th layer of the refining realm, he could only use a dozen waves. As he cultivated, he became more and more familiar with the vibration force, and the number of waves increased. When he was in the 9th layer of the refining realm, it increased to 27 waves. On average, every increase in cultivation level would increase by 3 waves. When he reached the 1st level of the element gathering realm, it wasn't 30 waves, but 33 waves. Now that he was in the 3rd level of the element gathering realm, he could use 39 waves. After suppressing Mo Chin, Night Sorrow's reincarnation spear opened and closed, and continuously attacked Mo Chen's body. The 39 waves of vibration force were sometimes on the body of the spear, sometimes on the tip of the spear, making it impossible for Mo Chin to defend. Luckily, Mo Chin had the piercing cloud body technique, so he was able to block it. When the two passed by each other again, Mo Chen's left hand sent out a palm towards Yishang's shoulder. Yishang had the same idea as Mo Chin, so he twisted his body and sent out a Jinyu palm. 11th uncle, be careful. Seeing the faint red halo on Night Sorrow's left hand, Yang Lei shouted. 7 Original Version 9. When Yang Lei shouted, Mo Chin realized that something was wrong. He quickly increased the amount of Jin Qi in his palm to receive Night Sorrow's Jinyu hand. Pang! With a muffled sound, Night Sorrow's body was pushed back 4 or 5 steps, and he sat on the ground. However, he soon stood up, swung his arms, and once again held the spear with both hands. Mo Chin took a step back, and looked down at his left hand. I lost. 13, you win. 11th senior brother, I'm sorry, I was too excited just now. Night Sorrow saw that Mo Chen's expression was a bit off, and quickly apologized. I don't mean to blame you, but if you want to increase your cultivation level, it's fine to do everything you can in a spar. Just now, I didn't use the cultivation level of the peak of the element gathering realm. Just now, in a moment of desperation, I sent out a palm with the cultivation level of the 3rd level. So, in a battle of the 2nd level, you won. But to be honest, that really hurt. After speaking, Mo Chin put away his long sword and rubbed his left hand. 11th senior brother, I really didn't do it on purpose. Night Sorrow felt a bit guilty. Not only did he hurt Mo Chin, he also made him lose face. 13, I know what you're thinking. Do you know? I'm happy for your improvement. When you really defeat me, I'll go burn incense to the ancestor, because he gave me a good junior brother. Mo Chin walked over and patted Night Sorrow's shoulder. Senior brother, I understand. Night Sorrow bowed to Mo Chin. He understood that in Mo Chen's heart, the friendship between fellow disciples was more important than his own honor. I'll spar with you, Yang Lei said. I'm a bit tired, I'll go rest for a while. Night Sorrow shook his head, and then went back to cultivate. Senior sister, did I do something wrong? Mo Chin asked, rubbing his head. No, it's just that 13 feels guilty. He feels that he hurt your face. In your heart, the friendship between fellow disciples is noble, and in his heart, it's the same, always said. Did you see that? This is brotherhood. You guys have to be the same, always said to Chu Ning and the others. Night Sorrow went back to cultivate. He just wanted to consolidate his cultivation. After cultivating for a night, Night Sorrow went to the dining room early to eat. Then he went to Sikong Chuyu's pavilion. He really missed Sikong because he could tell Sikong everything. He really wanted to tell Sikong what had happened to him. After staying in Sikong Chuyu's pavilion for a while, Night Sorrow went back to his room. In the dining room, when she didn't see Night Sorrow, Yang Lei asked Hai Luo. Chapter 122. In the future, 13 will not spar with us. Yang Lei said to Qing Ji and Mo Chin who had just entered. Everyone knew that what happened yesterday had affected Night Sorrow. Although Mo Chin didn't mind, Night Sorrow didn't want that. In the evening, Night Sorrow came out and drank tea with Aoi and Yanglei. After feeding Tianyu, he went back to cultivate. No one mentioned sparring again. Although it was the fastest way to improve, Night Sorrow didn't want to. Night Sorrow's life was very disciplined. In the morning, he would cultivate spear arts and dragon leap steps. In the afternoon and night, he would cultivate Qi and the myriad Tao Tome. Unspecified currency D/D/C New chapter. U0 On Night Sorrow's first day, two people came to the Longhuan courtyard. It was Hua Nan and Chu Ling Shao. Third senior brother, why are you here? Chu Ling Shao, what are you doing here? Yang Lei, who saw them first, asked. Ninth junior sister, don't worry. Eldest senior brother went to propose a marriage between 11th junior brother and junior sister Ling Fei. Uncle Chu didn't object and arranged for him to handle this matter. Eldest senior brother asked me to handle 11th junior brother's matter. Hua Nan shook his head at Yang Lei. He didn't give Chu Ling Shao a good look, but he couldn't make things awkward for 11th junior brother. At Taishan Peak, Gong Xian and the others knew that Chu Ling Shao didn't do anything wrong. But whether it was right or wrong, they had to stand on Qing Ji's side. There was no reason to talk about it, because Qing Ji was wronged, because Qing Ji was their junior and senior sister, it was that simple. At this time, Aoi came over. Mo Chen and Chu Ling Fei also came. Seeing Chu Ling Shao, Aoi's face turned cold. She gripped the sword at her waist. Junior sister Aoi, I came here today to deal with my sister Ling Fei's matter and also to apologize to you. I found someone to inlay the jade pendant. Do you think it's okay? If it doesn't work, I'll go find a master craftsman. Chu Ling Shao took a few steps forward and arrived in front of Aoi. In his hand was a gold and green jade pendant. It should be said that the outside of the jade pendant was inlaid with gold, and the middle was also wrapped with gold threads. When the jade pendant appeared, Aoi's eyes fell on it. She reached out and took the jade pendant. She recognized it. It was her late mother's relic. Back then, when I was young, I was too nervous and impulsive and destroyed junior sister's jade pendant. This matter has made me feel guilty for many years, and I cherish it. I hope junior sister can forgive me. Chu Ling Shao cupped his hands towards Aoi. We're even. Aoi gently rubbed the jade pendant as she looked at Chu Ling Shao. Brother Huanan, let's go in and talk about Mo Chen and Ling Fei. Chu Ling Shao said to Huanan. Senior brother Chu, please. Huanan extended his arm and said. Before this, Huanan had directly called Chu Ling Shao senior brother. Now that Chu Ling Shao had lowered his status and apologized, Aoi didn't care about it anymore. Chu Ning wanted to greet them, but he didn't have the right to speak, so he could only stand at the back. After entering the hall, Chu Ling Shao, Huanan, Aoi, and Yang Lei sat down. Aoi was still looking at her jade pendant. This is junior brother Night Sorrow. Have a seat. Chu Ling Shao smiled. They were all second-generation disciples, so Chu Ling Shao couldn't let Night Sorrow stand. Night Sorrow nodded and sat down. It wasn't a matter of modesty. A seat was also a matter of face. He didn't care about his own face, but if he stood, he would lose face for Taishan Peak. Sure, Ling Fei, sit down too. What are you nervous about? Yang Lei glanced at Mo Chen and Chu Ling Fei. After everyone sat down, Chu Ling Shao and Huanan discussed the matter of Mo Chen and Chu Ling Fei. First, they asked for their opinions. After Mo Chen and Chu Ling Fei both nodded, they discussed the details. They were all cultivators, so they didn't care about etiquette. They directly decided on a date. After discussing for a while, they set the date for next year's disciple recruitment ceremony, which was less than 4 months away. Chu Lingxiao didn't mention anything about the betrothal gifts. After all, it was Taishan Peak's business. After discussing everything, Chu Lingxiao waved at Chu Lingfei. Why aren't you going home yet? Are you planning to stay here for a long time? Cousin, I'll go back 2 days later, Chu Lingfei said with a red face. Okay, but you have to go back as soon as possible. There are some things that aren't good, Chu Lingxiao said. Chu Lingxiao followed Huanan and the others and left. He had only come to set a date and go through the formalities. After the matter was settled, Huanan asked Yishang if there was anything he needed help with. Finally, he took out a bottle of blood circulation pills for healing. He knew that Yishang needed the meridian clearing pill. Yu Yangyu had given Night Sorrow meridian opening pills and muscle revitalization ointment. He could only give him blood circulation pills to treat internal injuries. After chatting, it was time to drink. Yang Lei called Nangong Dai and the other third-generation disciples over. While drinking, Tang Tian's big mouth could not stay still. Chu Ning, your third uncle is very refined and handsome. Of course, I have a few aunts, Chu Ning said proudly. Ninth brother, why are you like this? Are you family? Tang Tian changed the topic. Seventh brother, what do you mean? Chu Ning knew that Tang Tian was up to no good. Isn't that simple? What he means is that you're an embarrassment. Without waiting for Tang Tian to speak, the straightforward Yuan Shizhuang opened his mouth. Although you are my senior brother, you can't insult me like this. Let's see who's better in the martial arts arena. If I don't get beaten up by you, then you've mistaken me for Chu Ning. Chu Ning glared at Tang Tian. Did I say that? Fifth brother said it, okay. Tang Tian pointed at Ma Shizhuang. Seventh Tang, I was just translating your words. How is it my meaning? Ma Shizhuang was a little annoyed. How did things get to him? I said that Chu Ning is more handsome than Master Chu. We don't look like family. Where did you translate it? Tang Tian changed the topic and started to talk about Ma Shizhuang. Seeing them quarrel, Yang Lei laughed. It's good to be young. So what if you're old? Hurry up and find someone to marry. Huanan looked at Yang Lei and said. Ha, third brother, you should solve your own problem first. I've entered the 5th level, and I don't look old. There's no need to rush, Yang Lei said with a smile. Don't use this to hurt people. Sixth brother, we have to work harder. Some people are too good at showing off. They mean that we'll be old soon, Huanan looked at Aoi and said. Third senior brother, 13 gave me the face retaining pill, and I also retain my looks forever. Therefore, some people are attacking third senior brother, and not me. Qing Ji also smiled. Sigh, it's so sad. You guys are so cruel. Huanan shook his head, but his eyes were full of smiles. This was the atmosphere at Taishan Peak. Brothers and sisters could joke around freely. No one would mind. Chapter 123. After Huanan left, Aoi and the others went to ask Nangong Dai, Chu Ning, Tang Tian, and the others who would participate in the sect competition and who would not. After asking, there was only one result. The unanimous opinion was to fight. Either you win or you defeat your opponent. This was what Ma Shizhuang, Nangong Dai, Chu Ning, and the rest of the 12 people wanted to do. Unspecified currency most, new, Chapter 0, W, Ouyang Lei and Aoi did not ask Night Sorrow, because there was no need to. After stabilizing his cultivation for a few more days, Night Sorrow went into seclusion to break through to the 4th level of element gathering tier. He had stabilized his cultivation enough, and there was no time left. The sect competition was in a few days, and many disciples in the Medicine Valley had rushed back. The sect competition was a wind vane. It meant that if some strong disciples showed up, there would be changes in the Yuan ranking and alchemy ranking. In Taishan Peak, the third generation would all participate in the newcomers' competition. In the second generation, Night Sorrow was not the only one who would participate. Huanan, Aoi, and the others would also participate. Yang Lei and Gong Xian entered the 5th level, and there was an empty spot in the Medicine Valley's heaven ranking. Those who had hope would fight for it. Night Sorrow ate half of the spirit congealing pill and began to break through to the 4th level of element gathering tier. Night Sorrow had experienced breaking through to the next level of element gathering tier a few times. What he needed was the accumulation of energy. Once enough energy was accumulated, breaking through would not be a problem. It was just a matter of time. Aoi and the others started to pack up and leave, but Night Sorrow was nowhere to be seen. Master, young master is cultivating in his room. When I went to clean up, the door was closed, Hai Luo said to Aoi. Then let's wait. This guy has no concept of time when he cultivates, Yang Lei said with a smile. Aoi nodded and told everyone to prepare and wait. 13th uncle is like this. When we came from Scarlet Sun City to Medicine Valley in Danding City in a beast carriage, he would meditate and cultivate. If the carriage did not stop, he would not stop, Tang Tian said. That's why there's such a big difference now. 13th uncle is already in the 3rd level of element gathering tier, but we are still in the 1st and 2nd level. Nangong Dai said with a sigh. The key point is that our starting point is higher than 13th uncle's. Now that 13th uncle's cultivation is higher than ours, we've been cultivating for the past few months for nothing, Ma Zhuang said angrily. Ma Zhuang, you're all very good. Otherwise, our master, your grandmaster, wouldn't have brought you all back to Taishan Peak. In every era, every period, there are geniuses that appear out of nowhere. Your 13th uncle is a monster. You've all seen his cultivation increase. His cultivation speed is fast, but it's definitely not superficial. His main point is his fighting ability, which is also what you should work towards. His fighting ability must surpass his current level, which is the embodiment of an excellent cultivator. High cultivation but low fighting ability is a sign of low ability, said Qing Ji. She was also afraid that Yi Shang would discourage this group of children. We understand. Thank you for your explanation, 6th martial ant. Nangong Dai and the others bowed. The increase in cultivation is important, but battle prowess is the foundation. There is a limit to the increase in cultivation, but there is no limit to battle prowess. There is a bottleneck to the increase in cultivation, but battle prowess can be continuously increased. Think about my words, Yang Lei said to everyone. Night Sorrow only came out at noon. 4th level of element gathering tier. Chu Ning's expression changed. Night Sorrow's cultivation had increased too quickly. The strongest among the 12 of them was in the 2nd level of element gathering tier. Without reaching the 3rd level of element gathering tier, they could not use the origin gathering pill, so their cultivation had been pulled down by Night Sorrow. 13th uncle is not bad. This should be enough, Mo Chin said excitedly. He now believed that even if Su Mu was heaven-defying, it would be difficult for him to defeat Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow casually tidied up a little, and everyone left. Aoi, Yang Lei, and Mo Chin all led a few others to ride on the blue condor. Night Sorrow himself rode on the Tianyu. Just now, Chu Ning had wanted to ride on the Tianyu with Night Sorrow, but the Tianyu had immediately attacked, not giving them any face at all. After half a day's time, the group returned to Taishan Peak. Night Sorrow wanted to return to Bamboo Forest Peak, but was stopped by Aoi. She had Night Sorrow stay in Bamboo Forest Little House. She was worried that Night Sorrow would not be able to take care of himself, because in Bamboo Forest Peak, Night Sorrow lived alone. His servants were also further away from him, so it would not be as convenient as staying with her. Night Sorrow did not refuse. He indeed needed to consolidate his cultivation and did not have time to deal with trivial matters. Aoi had servants and servants, so it would be more convenient. After washing up in Bamboo Forest little house, Night Sorrow first went to Repose Cliff to pay a visit to Yu Yangyu. When he saw Night Sorrow, Yu Yangyu carefully sized him up, then nodded in satisfaction. Master has just learned about your recent situation from your 9th senior sister. You have worked very hard and achieved great results. Just do your best in the sect competition. 9 Peak might disregard everything to raise Su Mu's cultivation, so you will be at a disadvantage. Disciple understands. Night Sorrow understood that Yu Yangyu was worried about him. This is Master's Cloud Suiyun Movement Technique Manual. Take a look and feel the advantages and disadvantages of your current movement technique. Yu Yangyu handed a manual to Night Sorrow. Yu Yangyu already knew that Night Sorrow had a movement technique manual. After accompanying Yu Yangyu for a while, Night Sorrow returned to Bamboo Forest little house. After returning, Night Sorrow took out the Cloud Suiyun movement technique manual and began to read it. This was a movement technique manual that could only be cultivated at the mid-second rank. Looking through it, he found that Cloud Suiyun was a bit inferior to Dragon Soar to the 9 heavens. In terms of description and essence, Night Sorrow noticed a difference. Night Sorrow still cultivated it. He wanted to comprehend the concept of Cloud Suiyun. That way, he would be able to cultivate Dragon Soar to the 9 heavens with half the effort. After cultivating the movement technique, Night Sorrow went to meditate. He began to eat the leopard embryo muscle strengthening pill. His cultivation base in the 2nd rank of the muscle strengthening realm of the myriad Tao tome was already very stable. While Night Sorrow was cultivating, Medicine Valley was bustling with activity. The disciples of the various peaks had all returned. Some of them wanted to participate in the competition for the Yuan rankings, while others wanted to fight for the pill rankings. There were also 4th rank 2nd generation disciples who wanted to participate in the heaven rankings. However, the heaven rankings were held internally. Outsiders didn't know about it. This was Medicine Valley's secret. Grass Valley Town was also bustling with activity. All the subordinate powers of Medicine Valley had come. They wanted to know who the new nobles of Medicine Valley were. They couldn't afford to offend them. Furthermore, there were still 3 months until the next disciple recruitment ceremony. There were many people who had come early. On this day, while Night Sorrow was cultivating, Huanan brought someone over. It was Qin Jin of the North Pole. "Why are you here? Have you been well this past year?" asked Night Sorrow. He saw that Qin Jin had reached the 9th rank of Qi refining. "I've been well. I came to see you. Back then, if it weren't for you, it would have been very difficult for me to enter the ranks of cultivators. I'm very grateful to you. After I break through, I'll focus on my breakthrough," said Qin Jin to Night Sorrow. He spoke a bit slowly, as if he wasn't used to interacting with others. Chapter 124. Yes, you are my friend. Qin Jin nodded vigorously. Seeing that the two were having a good chat, Huanan left. He also hoped that Night Sorrow would have more friends. The people of the North Pole Peak were all upright and did not engage in any underhanded practices, so he was more at ease. Qin Jin was not used to communicating, so Night Sorrow did not speak much to him. He took out a jar of wine and 2 wine bowls and began drinking. After finishing the jar of wine, Qin Jin extended his hand to Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow also extended his hand and shook Qin Jin's hand. After nodding at Night Sorrow, Qin Jin turned and left. Yishang sat on the bluestone. He opened another jug of wine and drank slowly. Actually, Yishang had already regarded Qin Jin as a friend a long time ago. On the way from Redfire City to Danding City, Qin Shang had stood by his side when he clashed with Qin Hai. At that time, Yishang had acknowledged Qin Jin as a person, but there were some things that he hadn't said. What's wrong? Are you unhappy that your friend is here? Huan Nan walked over and poured himself a bowl of wine. No, I'm just wondering why the people from the same family are so different. He did not say anything, but he was insistent. His two brothers are different, Night Sorrow said. Of course, people are different. Isn't there an old saying that the dragon has 9 sons, and each of them is different? Huan Nan said with a smile. I understand, third senior brother. You will definitely be able to enter the heaven list this time. Night Sorrow looked at Huan Nan and said. Not necessarily. I have been cultivating for decades. I admit that I am very hardworking, but my talent is not good enough. Therefore, there is a gap between me and your other senior brothers and sisters. Huan Nan shook his head. But big senior brother said that your foundation is the most solid. Night Sorrow said. A long time ago, when Gong Xian had asked Night Sorrow to cultivate steadily, he had used Huan Nan as an example. Night Sorrow also knew that among Yu Yang Yu's disciples, other than the most talented Yang Lei and Gong Xian, the strongest was Huan Nan. This was because Huan Nan could endure hardships and had the most perseverance. Maybe. That friend of yours is pretty good. His future achievements won't be low. He's very talented, but I don't know why he's only at the 9th level of qi refining. Huan Nan said, somewhat puzzled. Just like me, he started cultivating not too long ago. Back then, there was a problem with his body, so he couldn't cultivate. He started cultivating this year, Night Sorrow said. No wonder. His cultivation speed is amazing. Huan Nan understood the key point. After chatting with Night Sorrow for a while, Huan Nan left. Night Sorrow finished the entire jar of wine before returning to his residence. After returning to his residence, Night Sorrow cultivated the wind-borne body technique for a while. Then, he went to his room to meditate. After Night Sorrow finished cultivating, Aoi brought him 2 sets of robes. You can wear whatever you want, but the sect competition is the day after tomorrow. You have to wear something more formal. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor, Endless Fantasy Translation, I understand. Night Sorrow nodded. Although he liked to wear casual linen robes, he had to wear the Medicine Valley's disciple robe on formal occasions. After cultivating for another 2 days, Night Sorrow woke up early because today was the day of the Medicine Valley's Disciples Sect competition. After putting on the white Medicine Valley's disciple robe, Night Sorrow went to Aoi's loft to wait for her. What's the hurry? It's still early. Have some breakfast first. Aoi patted Night Sorrow's shoulder and said. I'm a little nervous. Night Sorrow told her the truth. It's okay. No one is your match in the competition among the newcomers. That beast doll won't be able to do anything. Aoi put her arm around Night Sorrow's shoulder and walked towards the dining room. I'm not afraid of losing. I'm just a little nervous. I think I should say excited, Night Sorrow said. It's okay. Senior sister is here. Night Sorrow, you've grown a lot taller. You're almost the same height as senior sister, Aoi said as she put her arm around Night Sorrow's shoulder. Aoi and Yang Lei were both tall and not much shorter than ordinary men. Night Sorrow was still short when he came to the Medicine Valley. After cultivating for half a year, especially after cultivating the myriad Tao Tome and strengthening his body, he had grown 4 to 5 inches. I'm already 16 years old. If I don't grow taller, I'll be too short. Night Sorrow said with a smile. Weren't you 14 years old when you came to the Medicine Valley? Aoi asked in surprise. But I was 15 then. I'll be 16 soon. Night Sorrow said with a smile. Yeah. It's been almost a year. 13, you've grown up too. Aoi was a little emotional. Although she didn't go to the Medicine Valley's disciple recruitment ceremony, she knew about Night Sorrow's situation at the ceremony. After eating, the two came to the Taishian Hall. There were already many people in front of the hall. Yu Yangyu had 12 second-generation disciples and 12 third-generation disciples. However, there were also many second-generation disciples from the other elders. Some of them went to watch the ceremony while others went to participate in the competition. After a while, Yu Yangyu came out of the hall and said, "It's still the same as last year. We, Taishan Peak, are not afraid of losing. We just have to fight with style." Yishang sat on Qing Ji's green condor and rushed towards the square of the mountain gate of the Medicine Valley. Lu Yangyu didn't ride a flying demonic beast, but with a sway of his body, he could cover a great distance, much faster than a flying demonic beast. 13. Did you know that for many years, Master hasn't participated in this kind of competition? He also hasn't participated in the disciple recruitment ceremony. This time, he's paying extra attention. It's mainly because of you, Qing Ji said to Yishang. I won't let Master down. Night Sorrow nodded. Soon, they arrived at the gate square. After arriving, Aoi, Yanglei, and the others took Night Sorrow to the Taishian Peak seats. When they arrived, Yu Yangyu was already sitting in the armchair in front of the Taishian Peak seats. There were some differences between the sect competition and the sect disciple recruitment ceremony. The sect disciple recruitment ceremony was open to the public. It didn't have much to do with the peaks. There were only a few seats for representatives. The sect competition was different. Each peak had their own area and the audience was in another area. Fortunately, the Medicine Valley's gate square was big enough to accommodate tens of thousands of people. In the past, the armchair in front of the Taishian Peak was empty because Yu Yangyu didn't come. This time, when Yu Yangyu appeared, the other peak masters nodded and greeted him. However, there was also a cold snort. Night Sorrow looked in the direction of the voice and saw an old man in a black robe. "Old ghost, you're here this year too?" the black-robed old man said. "If Nine Peak Su Chinbai can come, why can't I, Yu Yangyu, come?" Yu Yangyu replied indifferently. "Ha, I heard that you accepted a disciple. Old ghost, I wonder how your disciple compares to my disciple?" Su Chenbai turned his head and looked at a young man behind him. Night Sorrow also looked over. He knew that this young man was his opponent, Su Mu. "So what if you want to play tricks? My Taishian Peak will accept whatever you want," Yu Yangyu said bluntly. Chapter 125. Head, hair. What's the point of talking so much? If talking is useful, then there is no need for us to cultivate primary energy or combat skills. We can just fight with our mouths, Yu Yangyu said disdainfully. As if you are invincible. Su Chenbai snorted coldly. Then you're invincible. Come, let's liven up the atmosphere of this sect grand competition on this arena. Yu Yangyu stood up and looked at Su Chenbai. Yu Yangyu had kept a low profile for decades. He did not compete with anyone, nor did he fight with anyone. This time, he was not going to tolerate it anymore. He understood that if Su Chenbai took over, then the Taishian Peak would not have an easy time. He knew Su Chenbai too well. Although Su Chenbai couldn't do anything to Yu Yangyu, he could still attack Taishian Peak. This was the power of the sect and the authority of the Valley Master. Just as Su Chenbai's expression was gloomy and he was deciding whether to fight or not, a hemp-robed elder and a few other elders appeared. The appearance of the old man in sackcloth made all the members of Medicine Valley stand up. Alright, today is a competition between the younger generation. Don't take up any more time. The hemp-robed old man went straight to the front of Danding Peak and sat down. Because there was an empty chair there, the other old men sat on his left and right sides. As the old man waved his hand, the members of the Medicine Valley all sat down. Of course, those who could sit down were the second-generation disciples of the various peaks. Glancing at Su Chenbai, Yu Yangyu sat down. 13. Did you know that in the past, only 2 or 3 elders would show up? This time, even the Grand Elder is here. Aoi whispered to Night Sorrow. North Pole, you're the host this year, right? It's about time to start. As Qing Ji and Yi Shang were whispering to each other, the first elder made the arrangements. Let's go, the first elder said to the North Pole Peak Lord Yen Bei. Okay. Yen Beifang stood up and came over. This time, it was the North Pole Peak's turn to host the Great Sect competition, and his assistant was Chu Ling Shao. Chu Ling Shao was the eldest disciple of Danding Peak, the main peak of the Medicine Valley. He was also the disciple of the Valley Master. Other than his low qualifications, his ability in other aspects was obvious to all. However, these 2 aspects blocked his path to promotion. Many disciples of the Medicine Valley knew that it was only a matter of time before Chu Lingshao rose to the top of the Medicine Valley because he had the ability. With Yen Beiji's nod, Chu Lingshao went on stage to announce the rules and rewards of the rookie battle. There were more than 200 people participating in this year's rookie competition. Originally, there were only about 20 rookies, but there were more outer sect disciples. The rules of the arena were that no poison was allowed, no hidden weapons were allowed, and no attacks were allowed when the opponent admitted defeat. No killing was allowed. The rules of the competition were that the top 10 would be decided by drawing lots. Then, it would be a round-robin battle. It would be a round-robin battle based on points. Night Sorrow took out 2 heaven-piercing thatches and pinned them to his waist before going to draw lots. This was what Aoi had told him. If he took them out and put them on the stage, they wouldn't be considered hidden weapons. After getting his number, Night Sorrow returned to his original seat. Aoi took a look at Night Sorrow's number and her face was full of excitement. What number? Shi Tianlin asked. He didn't ask his own disciple, but looked at Night Sorrow. He knew that his disciple Su Feng and the others wouldn't be able to defeat Su Mu. Su Mu's cultivation level had reached the 8th level of element gathering tier. This was unique in the rookie competition. The others didn't even have someone in the 5th level of element gathering tier. 13. Aoi said. I'm asking what number 13 is. Shi Tianlin asked again. He was very concerned about this number because those who started the battle were more outstanding. If they met an opponent of equal strength, they would have time to rest and recover after the battle. Didn't I tell you? 13, wasn't I clear enough? Aoi grabbed Night Sorrow's number and showed it to Shi Tianlin. The number on the number plate was surprisingly 13. This? That works too. Shi Tianlin was stunned. After drawing lots, Chu Lingshao announced the start of the competition. First was the battle between number 1 and number 2. This was a battle between 2 outer sect disciples. Their cultivation levels were both in the 9th level of Qi refining tier, and they competed in battle experience. The outer sect disciple from the North Pole Peak won. Apart from Night Sorrow and the other 26 people who participated in the competition, everyone else was an outer sect disciple. The highest cultivation level an outer sect disciple could reach was the peak of Qi refining tier. However, there was a time difference in between. Even if an outer sect disciple reached the element gathering tier, they would still have to wait until the annual disciple recruitment ceremony to become an inner sect disciple. Thus, many outer sect disciples with element gathering tier cultivation appeared in the rookie competition. One battle followed another. On the 6th battle, Su Mu stepped onto the stage. He was number 11. Looking at the Cloud Sea Peak disciple who stepped onto the stage, Su Mu bared his teeth and let out a wolf-like howl. While the Cloud Sea Peak disciple on the other side was astonished, Su Mu moved. Like a ferocious beast, he punched the Cloud Sea Peak disciple off the stage. Looking at the Cloud Sea Peak disciple whose chest had caved in, Knight Sorrow understood that this injury was serious. His chest bones were broken, and his internal organs were also heavily injured. Su Chenbai, take care of your disciple, the Peak Master of Cloud Sea Peak, Duan Lei, stood up and roared. His skills are inferior. What's there to say? Su Chenbai said indifferently. Using such a heavy hand in a competition between disciples of the same sect. Duan Lei's face was filled with anger. Su Mu could easily defeat this Cloud Sea Peak disciple who was only in the first level of element gathering tier, yet he still used such a heavy hand. It's a competition on the stage. There are winners and losers. Peak Master Duan, there's no need to be so angry, Jin Kan, who was Su Chenbai's friend, said. Su Mu only used one move, and he didn't attack when his opponent was defeated or admitted defeat. This is completely in accordance with the rules, right? Su Chenbai said again. Seeing that the great elder in linen clothes didn't say anything, Yan Beiji signaled that the next round could begin. When number 13 was called, Knight Sorrow walked to the front of the stage and handed his card to Chu Lingxiao. The other Blue Rock Peak outer disciple also handed his card to Chu Lingxiao. Chu Lingxiao placed their cards on the table in front of him. On one side of the table was a bucket filled with cards. The winner's card would be written with their name and thrown into the bucket. The next round would be drawing lots. If two people were drawn, they would fight against each other randomly. Taishian Peak, Knight Sorrow. Knight Sorrow waved the reincarnation spear in his hand and announced his name. Blue Rock Peak, Chen He. The Blue Rock Peak outer disciple said. He was in the second level of element gathering tier. He didn't break through to element gathering tier recently. He entered element gathering tier not long after Knight Sorrow and the others entered Medicine Valley. Let the competition begin, Chu Lingxiao said. Hearing Chu Lingxiao's words, Chen He waved his battle saber and slashed at Knight Sorrow. Knight Sorrow didn't move. He raised his right arm, and the reincarnation spear pierced directly at Chen He's chest. Chen He exerted force with his right arm and slashed at the reincarnation spear. Ding! Chapter 126. Chen He's expression changed. He had never imagined that his full-powered attack would not be able to move Knight Sorrow's reincarnation spear at all. I lost. Chen He took a few steps back and said to Knight Sorrow. Knight Sorrow waved his right hand and put away his reincarnation spear. He then bowed slightly to Chu Lingxiao. Knight Sorrow wins this match. Chu Lingxiao wrote Knight Sorrow's name on the number 13 and put it into the bucket. At this moment, there were 7 tokens in the bucket. Knight Sorrow walked down the arena. When he passed by the main peak seating area, Knight Sorrow bowed to the Great Elder, who was wearing hemp clothes. The Great Elder smiled and nodded. When he reached the Taishian Peak, Knight Sorrow bowed to Yu Yang Yu again before returning to his seat. Just as he sat down, Knight Sorrow felt someone looking at him. Following his intuition, Knight Sorrow turned to look. He saw Su Mu. When Su Mu noticed Knight Sorrow looking at him, he bared his teeth and made a throat-slitting gesture at Knight Sorrow. Knight Sorrow only smiled casually. He knew that there was no point in trying to show off. This bastard. Aoi followed Knight Sorrow's gaze and saw Su Mu's gesture. 6th Senior Sister, can I apply for a death match in the arena? Knight Sorrow asked. Su Mu's constant provocation made Knight Sorrow want to kill him. You can apply, but it's hard to say if it will be approved, Aoi said. 13. Don't let others affect your mood. Gong Xian turned his head and reminded Knight Sorrow. Su Feng, you're number 78. Ma Shizhuang exclaimed. Yes, number 78. Why? Shi Tianling's disciple, Su Feng, said. I'm number 77. Ma Shizhuang said as he flipped open his token. What is this? Su Feng's face turned blue when he saw Ma Shizhuang's sign. Among the third-generation disciples under Yu Yangyu at Taishan Peak, Ma Shizhuang was the strongest, followed by Chu Ning and Tang Tian. If Su Feng were to meet Ma Shizhuang, he would have to go home after this competition. It's nothing. This is just a competition. Don't take it too seriously. Shi Tianlin glanced at Su Feng and said. The battle continued. From time to time, the disciples of Taishan Peak would go up, and they would always emerge victorious. The first defeat was Qiu Jing, the disciple of Knight Soro's fifth senior brother, Lu Peng. He lost to Qian Yin from the main peak. Qian Yin was Chu Ling Zhao's disciple and was one of the 26 people selected for this year's apprenticeship ceremony. The two were originally evenly matched, but in the end, because Qian Yin was a bit faster, Qiu Jing was defeated. Don't mind him. He has a special bloodline. Gong Xian comforted Qiu Jing. Yes, I didn't expect to miss out on such a good seedling. Yu Yangyu nodded. At the last moment, Qian Yin's speed had increased, and his face had turned pale. This was a sign that he had used the power of his bloodline. Su Feng against Ma Shizhuang. He didn't give up like everyone expected. Instead, he fought seriously. This wasn't something that would happen to disciples from other peaks. Master, aren't they just letting outsiders benefit by fighting like this? Nangong Dai asked her master, Huan Nan. Yes, but Su Feng's performance was very good. Fighting like this is a form of respect for Ma Shizhuang, and also a form of respect for himself, Huan Nan said. We Taishan Peak disciples must be unyielding. We can't lose our fighting spirit at any time. You must remember this. Gong Xian said to the Taishan Peak disciples. Nangong Dai and the others bowed. She now understood that her thinking was wrong. Su Feng could choose not to fight, but that would be an insult to Ma Shizhuang. It would also be a waste of his year of hard work. When you meet Su Mu later, just admit defeat, Gong Xian added. Nangong Dai, Ma Shizhuang, and the others were stunned by Gong Xian's words. This was because Gong Xian's words were contradictory. This is an order from your elders. It's different from your own attitude. Just listen to your elders' orders, Huan Nan said. You don't understand, right? Because your 13th uncle is here, you don't need to fight to the death. Taishan Peak's reputation won't be lost. Also, you're fighting that idiot now. It's not unyielding, it's reckless, Yang Lei said. Su Mu had been provoking them. In Yang Lei's eyes, he had dropped from a beast child to an idiot. I really want to kill him, Ma Shizhuang said through gritted teeth. You're not the only one who wants to kill him. Your 13th uncle wants to as well. Aoi lifted her chin in Knight Soro's direction. 13th uncle, are you afraid he'll hurt them? Yang Lei said, pointing at Chu Ning and the others. On one hand, I think he's a scourge, Knight Soro said. Master, what's that guy's cultivation level? Nangong Dai asked. 8th level of element gathering tier, Huan Nan glanced at Su Mu and said. Don't worry. 13th uncle can take care of him, Nangong Dai said, waving her arms. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor, Endless Fantasy Translation Tang Tian, Chu Ning, and the others also waved their arms, expressing their opinions. You have so much confidence in your 13th uncle? Gong Xian asked with a smile. And, we all have confidence in 13th uncle. Nangong Dai nodded seriously. The smile on her face had disappeared. You don't understand. This guy has lived with demonic beasts since he was young. Not only is he violent, but he's also very talented. He's said to have copper skin and iron bones, and has extraordinary strength. Plus, his cultivation level is much higher than yours. He's very difficult to deal with, Wu Qi said. He was still worried about Night Sorrow. Don't worry, second senior brother. I can do it, Night Sorrow said, expressing his opinion. While they were chatting, Su Feng lost. After all, in terms of cultivation level, he was much lower than Ma Shizhuang. Ma Shizhuang was already close to the peak of the second level of element gathering tier. Battle after battle continued. Night Sorrow watched at first, intending to see the strengths of others. However, he soon gave up. Very few people used battle techniques, and there weren't many battle techniques. They all relied on their cultivation level and instincts to fight. 2 hours passed, and the first round ended. Half of the people were eliminated. Qiu Jing and Su Feng from Taishan Peak were eliminated. Next came the second round. Chu Lingxiao shook the lot bucket a few times, then put it aside. He then called for an elite disciple from the main peak to draw lots. This was to prevent any suspicion of cheating. The disciples from Taishan Peak went up one by one. The ones they met were all outer sect disciples from other peaks. These outer sect disciples' cultivation levels had kept up, but their weakness was that they weren't talented enough. They didn't have a master or anyone to guide them. Their strength was that their cultivation levels were more solid. These outer sect disciples couldn't be compared to the third-generation disciples from Taishan Peak. The third-generation disciples from Taishan Peak all successfully advanced. Night Sorrow sat steadily. Su Mu didn't go up on stage either. He was looking forward to fighting Su Mu. Then, the disciples from Taishan Peak would have one less huge threat. After Ma Shizhuang was called up to the stage, Chu Lingxiao called out another name, Taishan Peak's Nangong Dai. Chapter 127. After hearing Su Feng's words, Gong Xian and the others laughed. Gong Xian and the others didn't care about this kind of battle. They only cared about the Taishan Peak getting first place. After Nangong Dai got on the stage, she took out her long sword and nodded at Ma Yizhuang. Senior sister, I'm sorry. Ma Yizhuang slightly bowed. Come, let's treat this as a spar to determine the victor. Nangong Dai smiled and made her move. On the stage, the two moved around and started to attack each other. Nangong Dai's advantage was her speed, while Ma Yizhuang's cultivation was deep. His attacks were heavy and powerful, relying on strength to break through technique. After fighting for a while, Ma Yizhuang found an opportunity and used his battle blade to knock Nangong Dai's longsword aside. The blade stopped in front of Nangong Dai and then retreated. Yes, this Taishan Peak's youngsters are all very outstanding. Second Elder Qian Wu, who was sitting beside the hemp-clothed old man, said. Indeed, a group of outstanding seedlings. The Great Elder nodded. After Ma Yizhuang and Nangong Dai got off the stage, Chu Lingxiao called for Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow carried the reincarnation spear and walked onto the stage. He cupped his hands towards Chu Lingxiao and then stood at the side of the stage, waiting for his opponent. What disappointed Night Sorrow was that his opponent wasn't Su Mu, but a disciple of the Tianhua Peak called Kong Jun. Night Sorrow had seen him before. Back when Ao Lai was looking for trouble with him, Kong Jun and Qin Hai were by his side. His impression of the disciples of the Tianhua Peak was very bad. When Chu Lingxiao called for the battle to begin, Night Sorrow's feet shook and his body soared into the air. The reincarnation spear smashed down towards Kong Jun's head. Kong Jun exerted strength in his feet and retreated. He planned to wait for Night Sorrow's attack to miss and attack when his strength was exhausted. As Kong Jun retreated, Night Sorrow exerted strength in his waist and his legs fiercely swung backwards. His body pounced forward and closed the distance between him and Kong Jun. his spear still smashed towards Kong Jun's head. Seeing this scene, Kong Jun's expression changed and he quickly blocked with his long sword. Crack! With a crisp sound, the web between Kong Jun's thumb and index finger on his right hand was ruptured, and the long sword in his hand was broken. His body went limp and he half knelt on the ground. Night Sorrow's reincarnation spear stopped half an inch above his head. Seeing this scene, many people heaved a sigh of relief. Everyone was worried that Night Sorrow wouldn't be able to hold back and would smash Kong Jun's head open. "You lost?" Night Sorrow asked. Kong Jun's left hand held the split webbing between his thumb and forefinger on his right hand, and he nodded with an ugly expression on his face. He was already in the peak period of the third level of element gathering tier. He had originally thought that he would be able to stand out in the sect competition, and that Luo Daoyuan would accept him as a disciple. However, he had not even been able to withstand a single blow from Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow wins on the 13th. Chu Ling Xiao threw Night Sorrow's number into another bucket. That was the number that qualified him to continue fighting. Carrying the reincarnation spear, Night Sorrow returned to his seat. 13th uncle is so domineering. Su Feng gave Night Sorrow a thumbs up. Kong Jun was already very strong. It could even be said that Nangong Dai, Su Feng, and the others were no match for him. However, against Night Sorrow, he only needed a single blow. "I was really afraid that you would kill him with that spear," Mo Chen said. He knew that Kong Jun had been an accomplice to the evildoer and had followed Ao Lai to find trouble with Night Sorrow. He was worried that Night Sorrow would take revenge on him. "It's not that bad. There's no deep hatred between us." Night Sorrow shook his head. After a while, Sumu went up on stage. He once again used a heavy blow and injured a disciple of Danning Peak. In this year's newcomer competition, the outcome had already been decided. The first place would either be Night Sorrow or Sumu. However, the two of them had completely different styles. Night Sorrow was firm and domineering, while Sumu was cold and vicious. Chu Ling Zhao's expression turned ugly. Everyone understood the situation. "Su Chenbai, you could fight for your reputation, but you couldn't send a lunatic to injure others. Sumu, know your limits. You have to respect your opponent," Yen Beiji said. "My opponent is in the top 10 of the Yuan roll." Sumu snorted. This caused the disciple of Danning Peak who was injured by Sumu to spit out blood. This was an insult, this was looking down on him. Sumu meant that he wasn't even a match for him. "WW first." "Humph." Yen Beiji snorted. The battles continued. With every round, the number of people was reduced by half. The disciples of Taishian Peak did not meet Sumu. Their opponents were all outer sect disciples. The unlucky Jiang Mingshi, Shi Chong, Qi Yun, and Shen Rong were eliminated. Jiang Ziming and Shi Chong met their own people from Taishian Peak. One met Chu Ning, while the other met Tang Tian. They could only spar and lose. Shen Rong was defeated by Qin Hai. Qin Hai was now at the peak of third level of element gathering tier. Needless to say, he had taken the origin strengthening pill. Qi Yun and Qi Shi lost to Tan Dong, a disciple of Yun Hai Peak. Tan Dong was in the same batch as them. At noon, the names of the top 10 were out. Taishian Peak had 6 people: Night Sorrow, Chu Ning, Tang Tian, Ma Zhuang, Ning Qing, and Qing Jiang. Nangong Dai, Su Feng, Jiang Ziming, and Shi Chong were defeated by their own people. Qiu Jing lost to Qian Yin of Danning Peak, Shen Rong lost to Qin Hai, and Qi Yun lost to Tan Dong. This was the current situation of Taishian Peak. During this year's disciple recruitment ceremony, Yu Yangyu brought back 13 people. Excluding Night Sorrow, there were still 12 people left. Mo Chen did not accept any disciples. Back then, Gong Xian received the order to arrange one disciple for each of his juniors besides Night Sorrow, Chu Ning, and Tang Tian. However, the extra one was given to the second disciple, Wu Qi. Under Yu Yangyu's disciples at Taishan Peak, only Gong Xian and Wu Qi were dual disciples. Next, it was time to draw lots. The remaining 10 people each had 1 point. 1 point would be added for every win, and none for every loss. Whoever had the highest number of points would be the champion. The first match was between Night Sorrow and Tan Dong. Tan Dong bowed to Yi Shang and directly admitted defeat. After watching a few of Yi Shang's battles, Tan Dong knew that he wasn't Yi Shang's match, so he simply admitted defeat to preserve his strength. The second match was between Qingjiang and Su Mu. Qingjiang also admitted defeat. "Coward, Yu Yangyu, are these your disciples from Taishan Peak?" Su Chenbai asked. "Enough. Medicine Valley's 12 peaks are bound together for good or ill. Why are you belittling the other peaks?" Before Yu Yangyu could speak, the second elder, Qian Wu, spoke up. His face was full of unhappiness. He clearly did not agree with Su Chenbai's actions. Su Chenbai was stunned and did not speak. He did not expect Qian Wu to speak at this time. Most of the following battles forfeited. Knowing that there was no chance of winning, there was no point in fighting to the death. In the middle, Tang Tian and Chu Ning fought once. Their cultivation and power were about the same. In fact, it was just a spar. In the end, Chu Ning won by using his family's battle technique. "Old Nine, you're too shameless." Before leaving the stage, Tang Tian still looked at Chu Ning with disdain. After 5 battles in the first round, there was a break. Next was the second round. When the lots were drawn, those who met each other would be redrawn. There would not be a second battle. In the second round, Qin Hai was the first to go on stage. Then, Chu Ling Shao called out Night Sorrow's name. Seeing that it was Night Sorrow, Qin Hai's expression changed. Chapter 128. After listening to Night Sorrow's words, Yang Lei laughed. "With that kind of trash, he dares to bully 13th uncle. What a joke." He kicked 13th uncle in the past and almost caused 13th uncle to fail in the disciple recruitment ceremony. Now that retribution is here, he will die a horrible death. Although they were both from Red Flame City, Tang Tian did not like Qin Hai and Qin Shan. Qin Hai's facial expression was very interesting. His muscles twitched. No one knew if he was going to fight or admit defeat. After thinking for a while, Qin Hai spun the long sword in his right hand and held it in a reverse grip. Then, he bowed towards Night Sorrow. Just when everyone thought that Qin Hai was admitting defeat, Qin Hai's left hand slapped the hilt of the sword in his right hand. The long sword in his right hand flashed a ray of light and shot towards Night Sorrow. "You're courting death." Yang Lei stood up and roared. Aoi also stood up. She was also very excited, but she still held on to Yang Lei. Night Sorrow took a step sideways and dodged Qin Hai's long sword. At this time, Qin Hai rushed forward and entered the range of the reincarnation spear. His left arm blocked the attack path of the reincarnation spear and his right fist smashed towards Night Sorrow's chest. Night Sorrow did not move from his original position. He raised his left hand and slapped towards Qin Hai's right fist. The moment he slapped, a faint red energy circle appeared on Night Sorrow's palm. Bang! A muffled sound rang out, followed by blood and flesh flying. Qin Hai's right arm was directly shattered by Night Sorrow's palm. After shattering Qin Hai's arm, Night Sorrow did not continue to attack. Instead, he looked at Qin Hai coldly. "Too vicious. Is there a need to be so heavy-handed in a competition between fellow disciples?" When Qin Hai's right arm was shattered and he staggered backwards, Jin Kan stood up and roared loudly. Brother! Brother! Is there a need to launch a sneak attack in a competition between fellow disciples? Can you be a little more shameless? Cloud Sea Peak's Peak Master Duanlei said. Martial uncle. Chu Ling Xiao looked at Yen Bei Bei. He really couldn't stop Jin Kan and Duanlei from fighting. Qin Hai launched a sneak attack first. Knight Sorrow defended himself after that. He did not violate any rules. Knight Sorrow wins. Go and rest. Yen Bei Bei ignored Jin Kan and Duanlei and ended the dispute. Knight Sorrow withdrew his reincarnation spear and left the stage. He let out a sigh of relief in his heart. Why did he let out a sigh of relief? He was really worried that Qin Hai would admit defeat. If that happened, it would be very difficult for him to vent his anger. After returning to his seat, Knight Sorrow sat down. 13. How domineering. Quickly recover and wait for the next battle, Yang Lei said as she patted Yi Shan's shoulder. Knight Sorrow nodded and began to close his eyes to replenish the energy he had expended. In fact, he hadn't expended much energy. Qin Hai was too weak, so he couldn't disperse the energy vortex on his left hand. Behind Jin Kan, Luo Daoyuan, Qin Zhan, and the others had ugly expressions. Luo Daoyuan had already promised to help Qin Hai enter the sect after the disciple recruitment ceremony. However, Qin Hai had lost an arm. How could he enter the sect? Qin Zhan's expression changed because Qin Hai was his younger brother. Qin Hai had been crippled by Knight Sorrow, so he was naturally angry. On the North Pole Peak, Qin Zhan looked at Qin Hai with a strange expression. There was pity and disdain in his eyes. In the following battles, if they didn't admit defeat, they would spar on the stage. After this round, Yen Beiji announced a 30-minute break. After the 30-minute break, Yen Beiji called for Su Mu. At this moment, Su Mu and Knight Sorrow had won twice. Chu Ling Xiao picked Chu Ning from the lot that didn't battle with him. Chu Ning smiled and went up the stage. He looked at Chu Ling Xiao and said, "Martial uncle, let me stretch my muscles before we begin." After speaking, Chu Ning stretched his neck and occasionally kicked his legs and shook his arms. He also glanced at Knight Sorrow from time to time. Su Mu stuck out his tongue and licked the corner of his mouth. No matter what you do, the result won't change. Chu Ning, if you don't prepare yourself, then I'll take it as you forfeit. Chu Ling Zhao's face was a bit red. Chu Ning was too embarrassing. The Chu family had never produced such a person. Okay, I'm ready. I've thought about it and decided to forfeit. When Su Mu was about to make a move, Chu Ning forfeited. After forfeiting, Chu Ning didn't immediately leave the stage. He stretched out his hand and flicked the non-existent dust off his robe. He even tidied up his hair that wasn't messy at all. Only then did he slowly walk down the stage. 11th Martial Uncle, do you think I'm elegant enough? Chu Ning said when he arrived beside Imo Chin. Very good. In our Taishan Peak, other than me, you're the only one. Imo Chin said with a smile. His words made everyone blush. Chu Ning was embarrassing enough, but Imo Chin, who had always kept a low profile, said such words. He was too shameless. Because the two of them were talking, they didn't lower their voices, so everyone heard it. Cough cough. Chu Ning, quickly sit back down. Gong Xian couldn't bear it anymore. This Chu Ning was completely different from the Taishan Peak. However, he also knew that Chu Ning was trying to buy time for Knight Sorrow to recover. Everyone knew the might of the heaven-covering hand, but they also knew its drawbacks. It was a huge consumption of qi. Striking out with a palm would consume most of one's qi. This was common knowledge. Therefore, Chu Ning didn't know that Night Sorrow didn't consume much qi. When Chu Ning returned, Night Sorrow also opened his eyes. Thank you. Actually, I didn't consume much qi. Chu Ning nodded towards Night Sorrow. 13th uncle, you're too polite. I was just playing. I was very happy playing with him. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Yu Yangyu, who was drinking tea, trembled. He was even a bit worried that the Taishan Peak's reputation would be ruined by Chu Ning. Chu Ning came down, and Ma Shizhuang went up. Currently, besides Night Sorrow, Ma Shizhuang's combat skills were the best in Taishan Peak. He hadn't lost yet, and everyone else had admitted defeat. Ma Shizhuang's opponent was Qian Yin. Qian Yin's strength was his speed. Ma Shizhuang, who was holding a saber, didn't give Qian Yin a chance to display his speed. The saber in his hand opened and closed. In the end, Qian Yin was forced off the stage and won. Tang Tian went up and defeated Tan Dong. Look! On the N edition, Chapter J next, Chu Ling Shao called for Night Sorrow to go up. This time, he met Ning Qing, and Ning Qing also admitted defeat. The battle continued, and all 10 people had to fight. Night Sorrow's side defeated Tan Dong, Qin Hai, and Ning Qing. Next was Qian Yin, Chu Ning, Qing Jiang, and Ma Shizhuang. Finally, only Su Mu and Tang Tian were left. Once again, Night Sorrow drew Tang Tian. Ha, I originally thought that I would be able to bully 13th uncle after defeating that fellow. Looks like there's no hope. I forfeit. Tang Tian laughed slyly. This was also Tang Tian's last match. Out of the 10 of them, almost all of them had finished 9 matches. Currently, the ones with the best combat skills were Night Sorrow and Su Mu. Yuan Zhuang had lost twice, Chu Ning had lost thrice, and behind them were Qian Yin and Tang Tian. Chapter 129. Currently, the first and second placings had yet to be determined. The winner of the final battle between Night Sorrow and Su Mu would be ranked first, while the loser would be ranked second with 9 points. Aside from the 2 of them, Ma Shizhuang had the highest points. He had lost 2 matches and admitted defeat to Night Sorrow and Su Mu. Next was Chu Ning. She had lost 1 more match than Ma Shizhuang because of Ma Shizhuang. Then came Qian Yin, Tang Tian, Ning Qing, Qing Jiang and Tan Dong. Qin Hai had the worst results. How could he fight with a limp arm? He had to admit defeat no matter who he encountered. When Chu Lingshao called out Night Sorrow and Su Mu's names, the 2 of them walked onto the arena. Everyone knew that this was the final battle of the Medicine Valley's newcomer competition. The 2 of them were strong enough to enter the Yuan role. This was something that had never happened in the past newcomer competitions. This was also the opinion of some people who did not know the inside story. Those who knew the inside story of the Medicine Valley knew that this was a competition between Taishan Peak and Naining Peak. It was also a competition between Yu Yangyu and Su Qinbai. It could even be said that this competition involved the direction of the next Valley Master. Can I request a death match? Su Mu asked Yan Beibei while gritting his teeth and shaking his neck. He had said what Night Sorrow wanted to say. Why? Yan Beibei frowned. He was disgusted by Su Mu. I'm afraid that I won't be able to hold back. Su Mu looked at Night Sorrow as if he was looking at prey. Peak Master Yen, I agree to a death match. Staining the arena with blood is the true nature of a martial artist. Night Sorrow took out the reincarnation spear from his back. Great Elder, what do you think? Yan Beibei looked at the Great Elder, who was dressed in linen clothes. You can fight as you wish. However, if one side admits defeat, you cannot continue fighting, the Great Elder said while tapping the ground with his walking stick. You heard what the Great Elder said. Once one side admits defeat, no more fighting is allowed, Yen Beiji said. Although he said that, he knew that the problem was a little serious. Sumu was filled with a bestial nature, so it was impossible for him to admit defeat. As for Night Sorrow, he had noticed this during the disciple recruitment ceremony. He had an unyielding personality and would not admit defeat even if he died in battle. It was hard to say what the final outcome of this battle would be. Su Mu's cultivation was much higher than Yishang's, but Yen Beibei's eyes were sharp. He could tell that Yishang's body was extremely tough. Yen Beibei wasn't the only one who knew this. The other peak masters and elders could tell as well. Currently, it seemed like Su Mu was strong, but the outcome of the battle was still unknown. Su Mu took out his weapon. It was a long saber with a 4-foot-long hilt and a 2-foot-long blade. The back of the saber was covered in barbs that flickered with a dim light. The consequences of being struck by such a weapon would be dire. In the previous battle, Sumu had only worn a metal claw glove on his right hand and had not used this savage weapon. Since we're all from the same sect, I hope you'll stop there. Let's begin. Yen Beiji said. Roar! With a low roar, Sumu leaped forward and slashed at Night Sorrow with the saber in his hands. Night Sorrow took a step forward and swung his reincarnation spear at the black saber. Both horizontal and horizontal blocks were at a disadvantage. If the force exerted was different, the strength would not reach its peak. Therefore, Night Sorrow swung his reincarnation spear. Night Sorrow did not dodge. He wanted to see how strong Sumu, who was known for his extraordinary talent and iron bones, was. Bang! With a loud explosion, Sumu was forced to retreat 2 zhang. Night Sorrow also retreated 4 steps. Night Sorrow did not use any techniques because he wanted to feel out Sumu's strength. When Sumu retreated, both of his feet tapped on the ground, causing spider webs to appear on the bluestone floor. Footprints appeared in front of Night Sorrow, and cracks also appeared on the bluestone floor. After retreating 4 steps, Night Sorrow stomped on his hind legs and charged at Sumu. His reincarnation spear smashed at Sumu with 42 strands of vibration force. When he was at the peak of the 3rd level of element gathering tier, Night Sorrow could use 39 strands of vibration force. Now, he could use 42 strands. When Night Sorrow smashed his spear, Sumu held his saber with both hands and swung it horizontally. Night Sorrow took his saber attack head-on. Now that Night Sorrow had launched his spear attack, he would be at a disadvantage if he did not take it head-on. Their weapons clashed, but the result was completely different from the last time. Whang! The instant their weapons clashed, Night Sorrow's reincarnation spear released a powerful vibration, directly deflecting Sumu's saber. The reincarnation spear continued to smash downwards, aiming for Sumu's head. Sumu's expression changed. He let go of his saber and threw a punch at the tip of Night Sorrow's spear. He borrowed the force to retreat quickly. After gaining the upper hand with his spear attack, Night Sorrow used Dragon Leap steps. After taking a few steps forward, his reincarnation spear pierced out once again. His target was Sumu's throat. Night Sorrow gained the upper hand with just 2 moves. This was something no one had expected. Su Chenbai stood up with a frown on his face. Sumu was his trump card for this sect-wide competition. If he lost, it would be a huge loss of face. In fact, Su Chenbai had taken in Sumu as his last disciple and sent him to participate in the battle of the newcomers. This was already a bit embarrassing. If Sumu lost as well, he would lose both face and face. After gaining the upper hand, Night Sorrow did not give Sumu the chance to use his saber arts to attack. He realized that Sumu's strength was almost on par with his own. He had cultivated the myriad Tao treasured tome, so his arms had a strength of 13,000 to 14,000 jin. Sumu was born with this kind of strength, so he was indeed very powerful. Sumu retreated step by step. Night Sorrow's spear art was fast and fierce, and it also carried the Valiant Vibration Sutra. Sumu could not use his saber arts, so he could only block with his saber and punch with his right fist. However, Sumu retreated in a semicircle. He was doing this to prevent Night Sorrow from forcing him to the edge of the stage. The sound of weapons clashing could be heard continuously. Night Sorrow became more and more courageous as the battle went on. Without using the energy in his body, his arms had a strength of 13,000 to 14,000 jin. With the addition of the vibration force, he could already suppress Sumu. Sumu let out a bestial roar as he was suppressed by Night Sorrow. He could not use his saber, and he could not use his strength. The sullen feeling made him go berserk. His true chi was stronger than Night Sorrow's, but Night Sorrow's vibration force was very difficult to deal with. No matter how much strength he used, he would be shaken away. It was as if he was hitting cotton. Looking at the original chapter, is Chunbai done? The great elder tapped the ground with his walking stick and asked. Sumu's cultivation is profound. He is only being suppressed temporarily. They will not stop until they admit defeat. We can continue. The muscles at the corner of Su Chunbai's eyes twitched as he said this. Hee hee. The great elder laughed helplessly. The second elder beside him also sighed. They knew that this was the best time for them to stop fighting. Su Chunbai would not lose too much face. Die! Sumu let out a loud roar. He did not care about Night Sorrow's reincarnation spear attack and slashed his saber towards Night Sorrow's neck. He was fighting with the intention of perishing together with Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow's arms shook, and the reincarnation spear fiercely pulled back with 42 vibration force. Night Sorrow would not do something like perishing together with his opponent. Chapter 130. Night Sorrow, stop! Su Chunbai shouted. He was a little anxious because Sumu, who didn't have a weapon, wouldn't be a match for Night Sorrow. Su Chunbai was Su Chunbai's trump card to attack the Taishan Peak. He didn't want to give up on Sumu in this sect competition. No matter what, Sumu was a good seedling of the Nine Peak. He had extraordinary talent and was the best candidate to inherit his legacy. When Su Chunbai shouted, Sumu jumped and pounced on Night Sorrow. He punched at Night Sorrow with both his fists. Shut up! What are you trying to do? If you want to fight, I'll accompany you. Yu Yangyu stood up and reprimanded him loudly. Su Chunbai had gone too far. He had shouted for Yishang, not for Sumu to stop. Sumu was still attacking. If Yishang had really stopped, then regardless of whether they were defeated or not, the one who would be injured would have been Yishang. Yangyu, don't be impatient. Chunbai, there must be a bottom line in everything. Medicine Valley can't lose face. The great elder's expression was somewhat cold and solemn. Su Chunbai's actions had already disturbed his calm heart. While Yu Yangyu and Su Chunbai were fighting below the stage, the situation on the stage changed. Night Sorrow used the dragon leap steps and took a few steps forward to widen the distance between him and Sumu. Then, he swept his reincarnation spear horizontally and stabbed forward, forcing Sumu to retreat. Only by doing this did he gain the upper hand after knocking down Sumu's weapon. After stabilizing his footing, Night Sorrow's reincarnation spear continued to attack Sumu. Without the battle saber in his hand, Sumu couldn't withstand Night Sorrow's reincarnation spear with only one claw. Night Sorrow's reincarnation spear hit him so hard that he covered his head and stomped his feet. However, he didn't admit defeat. Aren't you very arrogant? Weren't you blocking our Taishan Peak's new disciples at Qingji Tower? Yishang scolded Sumu every time he drew his spear. Sumu relied on his true energy to channel into his arms to block Night Sorrow's reincarnation spear. Not only did he consume a lot of his true energy, he also couldn't withstand the pain. His rage and pain caused his face to turn purple. Watch small story for free equals tell story, alright. Well said. Over at Taishan Peak, Chu Ning, Tang Tian, and the others clapped and cheered when they saw Sumu being beaten up by Night Sorrow. At this moment, everyone was waiting for void admiration to admit defeat. Without a weapon, he simply couldn't withstand Night Sorrow's wind-chasing spear technique. What's there to be arrogant about fighting bare-handed people with weapons? Xingjia, the third disciple of the Nine Peak, shouted at the Taishan Peak. Using a weapon to fight someone who is unarmed. Is there something wrong with your head? Sumu didn't have a weapon when he went on stage. You don't even have a beggar's stick, yet you still have the face to blabber. Hearing Xingjia's words, the second-generation disciples of Taishan Peak didn't say anything, but Chu Ning couldn't take it anymore. Xingjia's words were very immoral, but they were also the truth. Impudent. Gong Xian turned around and glared at Chu Ning. However, he still felt very comfortable in his heart. The people of Nine Peak deserved a scolding. Chu Lingxiao's face turned to the side. The Chu clan was an aristocratic family with a heritage of many years. However, it had never produced a person like Chu Ning. His mouth was too vicious. Night Sorrow whipped Sumu again, causing him to jump around while holding his left arm with his right hand. He then turned to look at Xingjia. You may be shameless, but I am. Our Taishan Peak is shameless. Are you saying that since I have a weapon now, it's unfair for me to win? I'll give your Nine Peak a chance. After speaking, Night Sorrow raised his right arm and shot the reincarnation spear toward the edge of the stage. Boom! With a muffled sound, the reincarnation spear stabbed into a pillar at the edge of the stage. It was 3 feet deep. Powder appeared on the pillar near the body of the spear, and spiderweb-like cracks appeared all around it. The entire stage was filled with gasps. Just how much strength was used? That was a pillar made of 1,000-year-old ironwood. Night Sorrow put down the spear and used Dragon Leap to charge at Sumu. Energy whirlpools appeared on both his hands. One was light blue, the other light red. The difference in color was because Night Sorrow's left hand was using the energy in his flesh and blood, while his right hand was using the true qi in his dantian. This was Night Sorrow's first time using the Jin Yu hand with both hands. When he arrived in front of Sumu, Night Sorrow swatted out with his left hand to meet Sumu's right fist. Bang! With a muffled sound, Sumu was forced back. The sleeve of his right hand fluttered like a butterfly, completely shattered by the Jin Yu hand in Night Sorrow's left hand. It was only because Sumu's right hand was wearing a claw glove that he wasn't seriously injured. This wasn't the end. After Night Sorrow swatted with his left hand, he took a step back and closed in on Sumu. His right hand once again swatted at Sumu. If you have the ability, don't admit defeat. When he saw Night Sorrow swatting at him again, fear appeared in Sumu's eyes. His right hand was protected by a claw glove, but it was still numb. Now that Night Sorrow was attacking again, he was somewhat afraid. It was too late for him to retreat. In order to avoid being hit in the chest, Sumu could only raise his left hand to block Night Sorrow's right palm. With another muffled sound, Sumu was sent flying by Night Sorrow's palm. His left hand was dripping with blood. This was because he was innately gifted. His muscles and bones were as tough as iron, so he didn't end up like Qin Hai. Come, get up and continue. Night Sorrow soared into the air and kicked Sumu, who was lying on the ground. Ignoring the pain from his bloody left arm, Sumu rolled to the side and dodged Night Sorrow's kick. Puff! Limestone chips flew everywhere. Night Sorrow's kick had the force of 10,000 jin, creating a ditch in the limestone floor. A humanoid weapon. If Sumu's initial performance was like a humanoid Yao, then the current Night Sorrow was a humanoid weapon. His punches and kicks were extremely powerful. After missing his kick, Night Sorrow leapt into the air and chased after Sumu once more. A faint red vortex of energy condensed in his left hand once more. Sumu crawled to his feet and let out a low roar. He charged at Night Sorrow once more. He had already lost all reason. The bestial instincts hidden within his body flared up. Night Sorrow's Shinyu hand once again swatted at Sumu's right hand. After the collision of energy, the metal claw glove on Sumu's right hand was sent flying in all directions. His right arm was also covered in blood. After receiving two of Night Sorrow's Shinyu hands, Sumu's claw glove couldn't take it any longer and shattered. Night Sorrow charged forward once more, closing in on Sumu. If it were anyone else, Night Sorrow wouldn't be so aggressive. This Sumu had provoked Taishan Peak many times. He had even prevented Chu Ning, Tang Tian, and the others from completing Tianji Tower's missions. This was a slap to Taishan Peak's face. Night Sorrow couldn't take it. Furthermore, Sumu wanted to fight to the death. His heart was filled with killing intent, so Night Sorrow wasn't going to be polite. Seeing Night Sorrow charge at him once more, Sumu, who had been beaten awake and scared, continuously retreated until he finally reached the bottom of the stage. Night Sorrow leapt up and pounced down from the stage. As long as Sumu didn't admit defeat, he would continue to fight. Enough! Su Chenbai's body flashed, blocking Night Sorrow's path. Chapter 131. Sumu retreated very quickly, but the piercing the heaven spear was even faster. It did not hit Sumu's abdomen, but hit Sumu's right thigh. Carrying Sumu, the spear flew 2 zhang away, and Sumu was nailed to the ground. How dare you! I told you to stop, and you still dare to continue. Sumu reprimanded, sending a palm strike towards Night Sorrow. I've tolerated you for too long. How dare you touch my disciple? At the critical moment, Yu Yangyu appeared. He grabbed Night Sorrow's shoulder with one hand and pulled Night Sorrow behind him, while his other hand slapped at Su Chenbai. Bang! With a loud explosion, Yu Yangyu took 2 steps back with Night Sorrow. Su Chenbai kicked. Thud! Thud! He took 6 or 7 steps back before he could regain his balance. At this time, the first elder in hemp clothes appeared and stood between Yu Yangyu and Su Chenbai. Master, help disciple block him. I want to beat him into submission today. Night Sorrow glanced at Su Chenbai and walked towards Sumu. I admit defeat. Don't come over. Sumu was truly afraid at this time. Whatever ferocious bestial nature he had was completely gone. #update You knew fastest all Night Sorrow walked in front of him. Ignoring Sumu's screams, he shook him twice and pulled out the sky-piercing grass. Remember, don't provoke me, a disciple of Taishan Peak. Otherwise, I'll beat you up every time I see you. After putting away the sky-piercing spear, Night Sorrow came to Yu Yangyu's side. Are you okay? Yu Yangyu turned to look at Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow nodded and looked at Su Chenbai. 19th Peak Master, I'll remember this. Su Chenbai's expression was cold and he didn't say anything. He went to help the heavily injured Sumu up. Su Chenbai, you have to give me an explanation. Yu Yangyu had no intention of letting it go. Third senior brother, let's let the great elder handle this matter. Yen Bei walked over and said. He was worried that Yu Yangyu's radical actions would hurt the great elder's face. The first elder tapped his walking stick and looked at the second elder who was walking over. Senior brother, it's my fault for not teaching my disciples well. Second elder Qian Wu slightly bowed to first elder. It's not your fault. Deal with it. First elder nodded at Qian Wu. Qian Wu looked at Su Chenbai and made his decision. Interfering with the rules of the arena without permission is a vile behavior. I'll punish you with 10 years of cultivation resources. In addition, you'll be stripped of your position as the sex protector. Go back and face the wall. Master. Su Chenbai was stunned when he heard the punishment. This punishment meant that he was no longer qualified to compete with Yu Yangyu. He was no longer the sex protector, so how could he compete for the position of Valley Master? In the Medicine Valley, the position of the 12 Peak Masters was lower than the Valley Master and the Elders. They were the sex protectors. Not only could they manage their own peak, but they could also restrain the disciples of the other peaks. Now, Qian Wu had stripped Su Chenbai of his position as protector. This punishment was quite severe. Senior brother, what do you think? Qian Wu ignored Su Chenbai and looked at the first elder. It's settled then. Bei, announce the results of tomorrow's Yuan list competition. The first elder left after he finished speaking. Qian Wu's punishment was very fair and even a little harsh. You've disappointed me. Qian Wu glanced at Su Chenbai before he sighed and left. Yan Bei immediately announced the rankings of this year's newcomer competition. Night Sorrow had a perfect record and was worthy of being called the newcomer king. Su Mu was ranked second, but he didn't have much face. Then, it was Ma Zhuang and the others' rankings. Night Sorrow, who had retrieved his reincarnation spear and followed Yu Yangyu back to the Taixian Peak seats, was grabbed by Shi Tianlin and thrown into the air. When he landed, he was thrown into the air by Mo Qin. Then, he was thrown into the air by his senior brothers and sisters before he was let off. While Night Sorrow and the others were celebrating, Tai Kun walked over and bowed to Yu Yangyu. Martial uncle, can you return my junior brother's weapon to him? No, why should I? Chu Ning, who had been carrying Su Mu's battle saber, shouted. Slap! Gong Xian waved his hand and slapped Chu Ning's head. The elders are talking. If you interrupt again, see how I'll deal with you. Senior brother Gong, this brat has been spoiled at home. He needs to be dealt with, Chu Lingxiao said as he walked over. Gong Xian nodded at Chu Lingxiao. This is his nature. It's fine if it's not outrageous. 13, what do you think? Yu Yangyu heard Tai Kun's words and looked at Night Sorrow. Normally, weapons had to be returned in this kind of competition. However, Su Chenbai didn't follow the rules and Yu Yangyu didn't want to follow the rules either. Therefore, he asked for Night Sorrow's opinion. Give it to him. It's nothing, Night Sorrow said. Okay, you guys go back early and cultivate. There's still a Yuan ranking competition tomorrow. Yu Yangyu left after instructing them. Chu Ning was very reluctant, but he still returned Su Mu's battle saber to Tai Kun. After nodding at Gong Xian, Tai Kun took the battle saber and left with the 9 Yin Peak disciples. Su Chenbai had left long ago. He didn't have the face to stay. 13, you're too savage. It's a pity that the spear didn't kill him, Yang Lei said. Yes, that guy is very alert to danger. I'm still too weak. If the sky-piercing spear was just a bit faster, I would have been able to kill him. Night Sorrow hated Su Mu's snake-like gaze. 13, I think you really wanted to kill him. Why did you give up on the reincarnation spear? Aoi asked, puzzled. This was also what the others didn't understand. I had the reincarnation spear and he was wearing the golden iron claw gauntlets. If he defended with all his strength, I could only injure him. It was impossible to kill him. Even if he didn't admit defeat, he would have been stopped. I had to give up my weapon and fight him in close combat to have a chance to kill him, Night Sorrow said. Indeed, but it doesn't matter. This time, you've beaten him until he's afraid. 13. You said it well. Don't provoke the disciples of Taishan Peak. Otherwise, you'll beat them up every time you see them. Those words are so domineering, Yang Lei said as she hugged Night Sorrow's shoulder. Previously, he blocked Chu Ning, Tang Tian, and the others from doing their missions. I was angry, but I wasn't strong enough at the time, Night Sorrow said. Thank you, 13th uncle, for helping us vent our anger. When I have time, I'll treat 13th uncle to a drink, Tang Tian said. 13, go back and recover today. Tomorrow is the Yuan ranking competition. You have to participate, Gong Xian said to Night Sorrow. Can I participate in the Yuan ranking competition? Night Sorrow asked in astonishment. Of course you can. However, the Yuan ranking competition isn't as complicated as today. It's a challenge mode. You see who you can defeat and challenge. If you win, his position will be yours, Gong Xian said. Then I'll participate. Night Sorrow made a decision. He wanted to drag Qin Zhan down. In the Medicine Valley, if the person Night Sorrow hated the most was Su Mu, then Qin Zhan would be number 2. If it wasn't for the enlightenment, he would have been bullied at the Grass Valley Inn. Chapter 132. What's wrong? You look pretty excited. Hua Nan smiled at Night Sorrow. Yes, I want to fight it out with that Tianhua Peak's Qin Zhan. Night Sorrow nodded seriously. Yes, deal with that bastard. Just looking at him makes me angry. Tang Tian said loudly. What does it have to do with you? Why are you shouting? Gong Xian turned around and glanced at Tang Tian. It doesn't have much to do with me. It's just that he blocked 13th uncle at the inn in Grass Valley Town and wanted to deal with 13th uncle. If it wasn't for senior brother enlightenment stopping him, who knows what would have happened. Tang Tian revealed Qin Zhan's evil deeds. Sigh, how did the world become like this? Aoi sighed. The human heart is not what it used to be. The human heart is the most difficult to understand. Since he's looking for trouble with you, you should get back at him. However, it'll be difficult. These veteran disciples of the Yuan ranking are still very strong. Yang Lei patted Night Sorrow's shoulder and said. She had always supported Night Sorrow. Get back at him if you can. Suppressing him will only cause a knot in your heart, which is detrimental to the development of your mental state. Let's go back. Gong Xian said to Night Sorrow and then walked out of the plaza. Night Sorrow pondered as he walked. Was there a problem with his mental state? He didn't want to let go of someone he had a grudge with. 13th uncle, what are you thinking about? Aoi asked when she saw Night Sorrow frowning as he walked. 6th senior sister, am I going too far? Today, I want to kill Su Mu, and tomorrow, I want to deal with Qin Zhan. I'm really not an evil person. Night Sorrow said with some hesitation. You should have a kind heart, but you don't have to be soft-hearted when dealing with petty people. There's nothing wrong with you. After this sect tournament, don't return to the bamboo forest peak. Senior sister will accompany you to drink tea at the Dragon Spring courtyard and resolve the problem of your mental state. Aoi thought for a moment and said. She understood that regardless of whether Night Sorrow's mental state had a problem, he was still at a loss at the moment. After returning to Taishan Peak, Night Sorrow went to Aoi's bamboo forest pavilion and entered his loft to meditate. After the final battle with Su Mu, Night Sorrow had consumed a lot of his stamina. Aoi once again explained Night Sorrow's situation. It's not a mental state. You saw what happened today. Su Chenbai came forward to stop him, but he still wanted to kill Su Mu. This shows that as long as he wants to do it, he must do it. There's nothing to say about his mental fortitude. At the moment, he's just a little confused. Aoi, if you have time, you can enlighten him. After this, his future will be much better. Yu Yangyu was not worried. Yu Yangyu was very satisfied with Knight Soro's performance today. Not only in terms of combat strength, but also in terms of Knight Soro's control of the situation and mentality. What he was most satisfied with was that after Su Chenbai came forward, Knight Soro still wanted to kill Su Mu. This was something that ordinary disciples of the Medicine Valley could never do. After listening to Yu Yangyu's arrangement, Gong Xian and the others were relieved. They were really worried about this little junior brother. Knight Soro ate the spirit congealing pill and the leopard embryo muscle strengthening pill, and recovered to his peak state in 4 hours. When he recovered, the sky was full of stars. It was midnight. Knight Soro simply cultivated until dawn, took a bath, and walked out of the loft. After washing up, eat something. You seem to be in good shape, Aoi said. Sixth senior sister, do you know the rankings of the Yuan board? Knight Soro asked. I know a few people. After all, I don't really care about the Yuan board. The first place seems to be Danding Peak Shuyun Shao, the second place is Crepe Myrtle's Lan Yu, and the third place you know is Enlightenment, Aoi said. What are their cultivations? Knight Soro asked. Last year, Shuyun Shao was in the 8th level of Element Gathering Realm, and so was Enlightenment. Lan Yu is in the 9th level of Element Gathering Realm, but there are some differences in battle techniques and battle experience. Perhaps some of them have entered the core condensation realm. They can't possibly stay in the Element Gathering Realm for long, Aoi said. I know, they should have all advanced. Knight Soro sat at the table and said. Not necessarily. Not everyone is like you, cultivating so quickly. After entering the Element Gathering Realm, the energy needed to advance is huge. After the 8th and 9th levels, they need to stabilize their cultivation. Otherwise, they will be unlucky when they enter the core condensation realm. No one wants to enter the false core realm and stay in the false core realm, Aoi said. After that, Knight Soro found out that many people would stay in the peak of Element Gathering Realm. This was a watershed in cultivation. After successfully passing it, they would condense their core and become a true cultivator. Once they were stuck in the false core realm, it would be very troublesome. The false core realm was a gap between the Element Gathering Realm and the core condensation realm. Once they fell in, they would have to slowly climb back up. In other words, the false core realm is a stage that all cultivators must avoid, right? Knight Soro asked. Yes, the false core realm cultivators and demonic beasts are much stronger than the Element Gathering Realm cultivators and demonic beasts. However, no one wants to enter the false core realm. Who doesn't want to directly enter the core condensation realm? Aoi nodded. This also means that when I participate in the Yuan ranking contest, I will meet many people in the peak of Element Gathering Realm, Knight Soro deduced from Aoi's words. Yes, you now have the strength to fight against those in the peak of Element Gathering Realm. Also, they definitely won't have as many abnormal battle techniques as you. Use the shock force to block them. Once they get into close combat, they won't be your match, Aoi said with a smile. She had confidence in Knight Soro. I'll work hard, Knight Soro said with a smile. You've already won the title of Newcomer King. If you can also win a place in the top 10 of the Yuan ranking, then you'll be setting a precedent in the Medicine Valley. In our Medicine Valley, no newcomer has such a record. Aoi looked at Knight Soro and said with excitement in her eyes. If Knight Soro did it, then it would be a grand event at Taishan Peak. It would also be a milestone in the cultivation path of the Medicine Valley's disciples. Later, when they were eating, Aoi told Knight Soro a piece of news. Shi Yunxiao's family had a middle-level talent, which was that they could use their arms to attack joints. Ordinary people's arms could only bend inward. However, in Shi Yunxiao's family, members who had inherited the bloodline could turn their arms inward and outward. Their attacks were very strange. After eating, Aoi brought Night Sorrow to the Tai Xian hole. 13. As for the Yuan ranking contest, I won't be going. I'll just do my best. Yu Yangyu said to Night Sorrow. He had originally planned to go and watch, but changed his mind at the last minute. It was because Aoi and the others had said that Night Sorrow's mental state was a problem, which made him feel that he would give Night Sorrow pressure if he went. Chapter 133. I don't go into seclusion. Even if I do, it'll be for a short period of time. I'll remember these things. If you're not afraid of tiring yourself out, then our Taishan peak will recruit more people. This time, I'll put aside my pride and bring all the newcomers back, Yu Yangyu said with a smile. I'm not afraid of tiring myself out. It's better for our Taishan peak to be lively, Yang Lei said with a nod. Alright, then you guys go. Take care of 13th safety. I'll go talk to the Great Elder, Yu Yangyu said with a nod. This time, Gong Xian was the one leading the team. In fact, only Night Sorrow was participating in the Yuan ranking contest. Everyone was here to cheer for Night Sorrow. After Gong Xian and the others left, Yu Yangyu found Tai Tsang and asked him to secretly keep an eye on him. It didn't matter what Night Sorrow's results were, the most important thing was that he couldn't afford to have any accidents. After arriving at the square of the mountain gate, Night Sorrow realized how wrong he was. He originally thought that there would only be a few dozen people participating in the Yuan ranking contest, but in fact, there were many people from all the big peaks. There were at least a few hundred people participating in the Yuan ranking contest. This also let Night Sorrow know the background of the Medicine Valley. Those who weren't in the late stage of element gathering realm wouldn't participate in the Yuan ranking contest. Now that there were a few hundred disciples in the late stage of element gathering realm, how could Night Sorrow not be shocked? So many people. Chu Ning asked in surprise before Night Sorrow could speak. In the past few years, the Medicine Valley would accept more than 200 people in every disciple recruitment contest. There were also high-ranking members of the sect who went out for experience and brought back youths with cultivation aptitude. Every year, the sect would add 400 to 500 new disciples. Most of these people are in the late stage of element gathering realm. For example, next year or the year after, you guys might be at this level. It's normal for 2 or 3 batches of disciples to be at this level, Huanan said. Everyone understood after hearing Huanan's words. The Medicine Valley was the largest sect within 100,000 li radius. It was normal for them to have so many disciples. The peak masters of the various peaks, as well as the second-generation disciples, had arrived. Yesterday's rookie competition did not affect them much, nor did it affect their personal interests. Today was different. If their disciples were to enter the rankings, it would be an honor. Yan Bei was still in charge with Chu Lingshao as his assistant. The Great Elder was sitting there with his eyes closed as if he had fallen asleep. Qian Wu's complexion was not very good. After all, yesterday's matter was very embarrassing. That's strange. I heard that the first elder and second elder did not attend the sect competition and disciple recruitment ceremony in previous years. What's going on this year? Tao Yuan muttered in confusion. 13th retrieval of that ancient book is of great importance. It may be an opportunity for the rise of the Medicine Valley. The first elder may have some ideas, said Gong Xian. When Gong Xian spoke, the first elder opened his eyes and glanced at Gong Xian. He nodded slightly and closed his eyes again. At this moment, Yan Beiji said some encouraging words and then announced the rules. First of all, the disciples who did not have a ranking on the Yuan leaderboard would compete for the right to challenge. This selection was simple and violent. All the challengers would go up to the arena and only 30 people would be left. These 30 people would have the right to challenge. There were 100 people on the Yuan leaderboard. Those who had the right to challenge could only challenge the last 10 people. Each person only had one chance to challenge. Regardless of whether the challenger or the challenged person won, they would not be challenged for 3 rounds. Those who won 3 times would not have to accept challenges. This one chance to challenge meant that if they lost, they could not continue to challenge. If they won, they could challenge indefinitely. 13th uncle is at a bit of a disadvantage. Those people have brothers and sisters who can help them. Our Tai Xian peak only has 13th uncle. If we are targeted, we can beat him up with a punch. Tang Tian said. Interpersonal relationships are also a kind of ability. If you can stand there and prevent others from attacking you, it's also a kind of ability, said Wu Qi. I'll go greet Martial Uncle Duan. Gong Xian was about to leave for Cloud Sea Peak. The peak master of Yunhai Peak, Duan Lei, and Yu Yang Yu were fellow disciples. Although they didn't interact much, they were always on each other's side during crucial moments. When Gong Xian asked Yunhai Peak to help look after Night Sorrow, Duan Lei wouldn't refuse. After all, Night Sorrow was also his own martial nephew. Eldest senior brother, there's no need for that. I don't like that. Surviving in a crisis is also a test. Night Sorrow shook his head. He didn't know about his relationship with Duan Lei, so he didn't want Gong Xian to beg for help. YD update %new most %fast DG on you, 13. Sometimes you have to be flexible, Gong Xian said as he looked at Night Sorrow. He understood Night Sorrow and knew that rigidity was Night Sorrow's weakness. I understand eldest senior brother's logic, but I still don't want you to lose face and beg for help. What I want is face. Your face is also my face. Eldest senior brother, please allow me to be willful this once. Night Sorrow said to Gong Xian. He knew that Gong Xian was doing this for his own good, so he didn't want Gong Xian to beg for help. The first elder opened his eyes and looked at Qian Wu. How is this kid? Very good. It's really rare. Qian Wu nodded. He knew what the first elder was asking. They might not be able to find out what happened in the outer area of the square, but everything in the inner area was under their investigation. This naturally included the conversation between Gong Xian and Night Sorrow. Gong Xian exhaled and nodded. He understood that the only thing he could do now was to support Night Sorrow. After Yan Beiji left the arena, Chu Lingxiao called the disciples who were participating in the Yuan ranking battle to prepare for battle. Night Sorrow nodded at his senior brother and senior sister. He carried the reincarnation spear and walked up the arena. He stood on the side of the arena closest to Taishan Peak. It was obvious that the people on the arena were in groups. The 12 peaks were divided into 12 groups. Only Night Sorrow stood alone on the side of Taishan Peak. Qing Shan, did you see that? This is imposing manner. Even if there are thousands of enemies in front of him, he will still face them calmly. This is the temperament of an expert. Your martial uncle has really picked up a treasure. Why didn't our Cloud Sea Peak host the disciple recruitment ceremony last time? Duan Lei said to Bai Qing Shan, who was beside him. Master, do you want me to greet the disciples? Bai Qing Shan asked in a low voice. No need. The disciples know who to target and won't provoke him. Besides, it's not that easy to get him off the arena. It's hard to say if we can get him off the arena, but the price will definitely be heavy, Duan Lei said with a smile. Soon, the battle began and the arena became chaotic. However, one could still see some subtle patterns. The disciples of Danding Peak, North Pole Peak, Cloud Sea Peak, and Crepe Myrtle did not attack each other. The disciples of the other peaks were also fighting in groups. Night Sorrow's side was very quiet. No one came to disturb him. No one took a single Night Sorrow, who was in the 4th level of element gathering tier, seriously. Chapter 134. The sound of blades slicing through the air, the sound of weapons clashing, and the angry roars of some people after they fell off the stage could be heard. Night Sorrow stood there motionlessly with his reincarnation spear pointed at the ground with his right hand. 13th uncle is so cool. With a spear in hand, the world is his. No one dares to touch 13th uncle. Chu Ning's big mouth was not idle. Just as Chu Ning was speaking, 2 disciples from Tianhua Peak who were pushed back by Danding Peak rushed towards Night Sorrow. They planned to take down Night Sorrow first. Don't jinx it. Aoi reached out and slapped Chu Ning on the back of his head. Night Sorrow twisted his right wrist and pulled out his reincarnation spear horizontally in front of him. When he pulled out his spear, there was a vibration force. His true chi was not as abundant as anyone on the stage. Therefore, he could only use battle techniques. Buzz! A strong vibration sound was heard. The guy on the right side of Night Sorrow saw Night Sorrow pull out his spear and blocked with his battle blade. However, he did not manage to hold on to his battle blade and it was sent flying. After his weapon was sent flying, he was hit by Night Sorrow's spear and was sent flying off the stage. At the same time, Night Sorrow used the dragon leap step and moved 2 steps, dodging the other person's attack. Then, he flicked his wrist and stabbed his spear towards that person's throat. The guy who did not want to retreat and wanted to beat Night Sorrow off the stage swung his long sword towards Night Sorrow's reincarnation spear. When he swung his sword, he even slid it towards Night Sorrow. He planned to flick Night Sorrow's spear away and take advantage of the situation to attack. Ding! This guy's long sword was blocked by Night Sorrow's reincarnation spear. The reincarnation spear was unmoved like a mountain and stopped at the guy's throat. While this guy was still in shock, Yi Chang's reincarnation spear smashed down on this unlucky guy's shoulder, causing him to tumble. Yi Chang then followed up with a kick to kick him down. Isn't that stupid? Seeing the weapon in front of you being knocked away, you still want to pick up 13th uncle's spear. You don't even know how you died. Tang Tian shook his head and said. It's your 13th uncle's cultivation level that's too deceptive. Why would he care about someone in the late stage of element gathering tier? Hua Nan said with a smile. When the 2 of them were knocked off the stage by Night Sorrow attracted a lot of attention. The disciples of Tianhua Peak who had been repelled in the group battle rushed towards Night Sorrow. Since there were people looking for trouble, Night Sorrow didn't hold back either. The reincarnation spear's barrel slashed and swept across, shaking away all the attackers. Some of the unlucky ones were directly knocked off the stage. Only one Y positive V version underscore NX other, all one is stolen. F version Night Sorrow didn't use the energy in his body. He only used the strength of his arms and the power of the vibration to fight. Even so, no one was able to get close to him. Using the reincarnation spear that weighed 1,000 gene with a strength of 13,000 to 14,000 gene and the reincarnation spear with the power of the vibration, those in the late stage of element gathering tier who didn't have a very strong body wouldn't be able to withstand it. Seeing Night Sorrow injuring the disciples of Tianhua Peak and knocking them off the stage, the disciples of Tianhua Peak gathered towards Night Sorrow. They wanted to deal with Night Sorrow first. Seeing the disciples of Tianhua Peak rushing towards him, Yishuan executed the dragon leap steps and waved the reincarnation spear with both arms, controlling the distance between them and not letting them get close to him. He didn't want to defeat or injure many people. His goal was to stall for time and hold on until the end. As long as he was among the last 30 people, it would be fine. Night Sorrow's body suddenly moved forward and backward. Holding the reincarnation spear with both hands, he attacked without restraint. No one was able to threaten his safety. Knight Sorrow's safety wasn't a problem, but the people attacking him were. As long as they were touched by the reincarnation spear, their weapons would either be knocked away or their bones would be broken. There were many disciples of Tianhua Peak, but it was useless. There weren't many people who could get close to the inner circle to attack Knight Sorrow. Interesting. Do you think group battles are useful? Back when we were exterminating the mountain bandits, 13's cultivation was much weaker than now. Didn't he still get exterminated? Mo Chen said with a smile. He knew Knight Sorrow's group battle ability very well. Moreover, the current situation was different from back then. Yi Shiwen didn't seek to kill. He only sought to protect himself and injure the enemy while protecting himself. Enlightenment, this little guy is very fierce. On the spectator's stand, a girl wearing a white battle robe with her hair tied up behind her head said to Enlightenment. Senior Sister Lan, that's not a little guy. That's our martial uncle. Enlightenment said with a smile. Martial uncle? What nonsense are you talking about? The girl in white stared at Enlightenment and said. She wasn't considered pretty, but she was very spirited. She was Crepe Myrtle's eldest disciple, Tang Qianqian's fifth disciple, Lan Yu. She was also the current second on the Yuan ranking. His name is Knight Sorrow. He's the last disciple of Taishian Peak's Peak Lord. He joined the sect last year. I even brought him over from the Grass Valley. Enlightenment said. I'm going to faint. What is Martial Uncle Lu doing? He got this little guy to be our martial uncle. Lan Yu said with some dissatisfaction. There are still some things you don't know. He's a heaven-ranked disciple in the sect. Enlightenment said. Enlightenment was the law enforcement disciple of Danding Peak, so she knew more things. He has connections in the sect. But I don't think Martial Uncle Lu would accept a disciple just because of someone's face. Another disciple on the Yuan ranking said. You've misunderstood me. He first became Martial Uncle Lu's disciple, and then he received this treatment. This order was given by the Supreme Elder Council, and it was the order given by the Great Elder himself. However, as far as I know, he did not receive the token of a heaven-ranked disciple, Qiming explained. Don't talk first. This guy is really strong. We're destined to be his target this year. Another female disciple said. She was also one of Crepe Myrtle's disciples, Lan Yu's martial uncle's disciple. Qin Zhan, who was sitting at the back, snorted. What's there to snort about? Let's not talk about others. It's hard to keep your position. I don't understand. Why did your Qin family provoke him? Enlightenment looked at Qin Zhan and said. Don't think that just because he got the title of newcomer king, it will affect my strength. Qin Zhan's face was livid. Enlightenment didn't give him any face. Newcomer king. This guy got first place in the newcomer competition. Lan Yu asked with some surprise. Yes. Just yesterday, he got first place in the newcomer competition. The opponent he defeated was Beast Baby, who was in the 8th level of element gathering tier. Enlightenment said. He was at the scene yesterday, just like Qin Zhan. That Beast Baby is really strong, but he was too arrogant. It's good that he was defeated. This young martial uncle is really strong. Could it be that Taishian Peak specializes in fierce people? Lan Yu shook her head slightly and said. Chapter 135. What a pity. Lan Yu shook her head. She admired Knight Sorrow a lot. He entered the sect this year. To be able to reach this level, he is indeed quite strong. A man behind her said. Speaking of which, I admire our martial uncle quite a bit. In this year's disciple recruitment ceremony, the sect's threshold is the 4th level of Qi refining. When he participated, he was at the 3rd level of Qi refining. He said that he wasn't any worse than the others. After the sect gave him the qualifications to participate, he stubbornly fought with the other 7th and 8th level chi refining participants until the end, becoming one of the 26 people who entered the sect. You guys weren't there, so you should be able to imagine the difficulty he faced. Enlightenment lamented. I say, Qin Zhan, to be able to become enemies with him, are you really something? A short-haired youth looked at Qin Zhan. Qin Zhan glanced at the short-haired youth and didn't say anything. He didn't dare to offend him, as he was a ruthless person from Wuwei Peak. Wuwei Peak always emphasized on Wuwei Peak, but the short-haired youth in front of him was different. He was a genuine ruthless person. He was the disciple of Wuwei Peak's head disciple, Shuai. His name was Feng Yan. Enlightenment smiled and didn't say anything. He looked down on Qin Zhan, as the two didn't have any interactions. How strong is he? He broke his opponent's weapon with one spear. Lan Yu's junior sister, Huang Qian, looked at the stage and said. On the stage, Knight Sorrow broke the Tianyue Peak disciple's saber with one spear. Then, he followed up with a kick and kicked him off the stage. When Knight Sorrow kicked, his opponent came up from behind and stabbed his long sword towards Knight Sorrow's back. Unable to dodge in time, Knight Sorrow took out the sky-piercing spear with his left hand and blocked it. Then, he used the wind-chasing spear technique with the sky-piercing spear to force his opponent back. Then, he used the reincarnation spear in his right hand to smash his opponent. Long spear and short spear using the same spear technique. He is truly a monster. Lan Yu said with some shock. While the disciples on the Yuan roll were watching, Knight Sorrow had defeated most of the Tianyue Peak disciples. There wasn't anyone left in front of him, so the remaining Tianyue Peak disciples didn't approach Knight Sorrow. How is senior brother? Tai Tsang, who was standing behind Duan Lei, asked. What else can it be? Senior brother has picked up a treasure. Taishan Peak has earned a lot. Don't show off. Duan Lei glanced at Tai Tsang and said. Tai Tsang chuckled and nodded. Senior brother, you don't know. My big brother acted too quickly. Otherwise, I would have taken it. Even if you want it, you'll still be misleading others. Duan Lei gave Tai Tsang a look of disdain. Hearing Duan Lei's words, Tai Tsang nodded helplessly. He was indeed not good at teaching disciples. Most of his disciples were taught by other elders of Taishan Peak. When Knight Sorrow saw that no one was attacking him, he took 2 steps back and returned to his original position. He sheathed the sky-piercing spear at his waist and pointed the reincarnation spear at an angle to the ground. Knight Sorrow's attitude was very clear. He just wanted a spot. If he didn't provoke others, they'd better not provoke him either. Knight Sorrow's side was quiet, but the other peaks were more intense. Hundreds of people were fighting for 30 spots. There were too many wolves and too little meat. In Medicine Valley, being a disciple on the leaderboard not only represented glory, but also cultivation resources. Only if you had strength and potential would you be worthy of the sect's attention. Outside of the sect's grand competition, one could also challenge the Yuan leaderboard and Elixir leaderboard at other times. However, one would need sect merit points. Sect merit points were hard to come by. Challenging the Yuan leaderboard and Elixir leaderboard wasn't very easy. Therefore, disciples who didn't have a lot of resources and merit points wouldn't challenge them. Knight Sorrow's side was very quiet. Only a few people who didn't notice his battle came to fight with him. However, they were defeated in a few moves. There were fewer and fewer people in the arena. Danding Peak, North Pole Peak, Cloud Sea Peak, Ninine Peak, Forgotten Cloud Peak, and Green Rock Peak's group battles had also come to an end. Ninine Peak, Forgotten Cloud Peak, and Green Rock Peak's disciples who weren't outstanding were all defeated. The remaining few who were strong no longer fought head-on. They moved quickly in the arena, planning to last until the last 30 people were selected. After a few rounds of encirclement, the remaining disciples of Nine Peak, Forgotten Cloud Peak, and Green Rock Peak were not defeated. The disciples of Danding Peak, North Pole Peak, and Cloud Sea Peak shouted and began to fight with their own abilities. The elimination process was very fast. In a short while, there weren't many people left in the arena. With Chu Lingxiao's stop, the battle ended, leaving only 30 people. Next was the start of the challenge. Knight Sorrow wasn't in a hurry. He returned to his seat at Taishan Peak and sat down. With the qualification to challenge, he could challenge at any time. Gap. There was a huge gap between the disciples who weren't on the Yuan leaderboard and those who were on it. A few of them went up, but none of them succeeded. They were all defeated. This made the challengers feel conflicted. The challenge fell into an awkward silence. After pondering for a moment, Knight Sorrow stood up and came to the arena. I want a challenge. Okay, Taishan Peak disciple Knight Sorrow. Over there is the Yuan leaderboard. You can only challenge the last 10 people, Chu Lingxiao said. This was the rule. A newcomer was only qualified to challenge the 10 people who were ranked higher than them. If one wanted to challenge the one ranked lower than 100, they wouldn't be able to do so. They didn't have the qualifications. Then 91 it is. There was a stone tablet on one side of the arena. The names of the Yuan leaderboard were written on it, but Knight Sorrow didn't look at it. Wan Chun, 91 on the Yuan leaderboard, come out and accept the challenge. Chu Lingxiao shouted at the resting area of the Yuan leaderboard disciples. At this moment, a tall and thin man walked out and entered the arena. Knight Sorrow turned his wrist and pointed the reincarnation spear at the ground. He said to the tall and thin man, Wan Chun, please enlighten me. You're too polite. Make your move. Wan Chun nodded at Knight Sorrow and then took up a defensive stance. Knight Sorrow's feet shook as he charged forward. The reincarnation spear pierced towards Wan Chun's front. At the same time, the spear was filled with vibration energy. Wan Chun's body flashed and dodged Knight Sorrow's spear. He circled around Knight Sorrow and began to attack with his sword. He had already seen Knight Sorrow's battle and knew that Knight Sorrow's spear technique was outstanding. Furthermore, he was incomparably strong. Thus, he didn't plan to fight head-on and planned to win with his sword technique. Wan Chun's battle strategy was correct. Unfortunately, Knight Sorrow's spear technique had already been cultivated to the extent that he could wield it like an extension of his arm. As he brandished the reincarnation spear, not only did he block Wan Chun's attack path, he also forced Wan Chun to continuously retreat. This wasn't to say that Wan Chun's sword technique wasn't good. He didn't dare to clash with Knight Sorrow's weapon, causing the power of his sword technique to decrease by a few %. After being forced to the corner of the arena by Knight Sorrow, Wan Chun had no choice but to use his sword to block Knight Sorrow's reincarnation spear. In the end, his long sword was shaken off by Knight Sorrow's reincarnation spear. Knight Sorrow controlled the reincarnation spear to stop 1 foot in front of Wan Chun and then retreated. I have lost. I accept my loss wholeheartedly. Wan Chun cupped his hands towards Knight Sorrow. I'm sorry. Knight Sorrow expressed his apology. Wan Chun smiled and left the arena. He wasn't as strong as Knight Sorrow, so he could afford to lose. Will Knight Sorrow continue? Chu Lingxiao asked. Chapter 136. Scammer. Huang Qian looked gloomily at Qin Zhan, because in the following result, she might be out of luck. She was ranked 41st, and Knight Sorrow kept challenging people who were 10 ranks higher than her. Then she would have to face Knight Sorrow, because Qin Zhan was ranked ahead of her, at the tail end of the top 10. Qin Zhan clenched his fists, but did not speak. Huang Qian was nothing to him, but Huang Qian's senior sister, Lan Yu, was very powerful, having been stuck at the peak of element gathering tier for a year. The one ranked 81st was also in the 9th level of element gathering tier. He began to use the same tactics as Wan Chen, but the result was the same. Night Sorrow's body was very strong, and he displayed the chasing wind spear arts to its fullest potential. He could not withstand it, so he could only admit defeat when he was at a disadvantage. That way, he would not lose face. Next, the 71st ranked also admitted defeat. Night Sorrow did not intend to rest. This kind of battle did not consume much of his energy. Next, Chu Ling Xiao called the one ranked 61st. My name is Qin Yun, I admit defeat. The 61st ranked Qin Yun stepped onto the stage and smiled at Night Sorrow, then bowed slightly to Chu Ling Xiao. Bastard, shouldn't you at least fight a few rounds before admitting defeat? A middle-aged man not far behind Chu Ling Xiao scolded. He was Chu Ling Xiao's junior brother, and also Qin Yun's master. Master, I really can't beat him. If I continue to fight, wouldn't that be embarrassing? Why don't I preserve my strength and deal with others later? Qin Yun said to the middle-aged man. And, if you can't keep 61st, see how I'll deal with you. Qin Yun's master glanced at Qin Yun, then sat down. The one ranked 51st was a ruthless character. His surname was Shi Yunhai. After he stepped onto the stage, he quickly approached Night Sorrow, and engaged in close combat with Night Sorrow. After the close combat, Night Sorrow realized how difficult it was to deal with Shi Yunhai. With a short blade in one hand and a fist in the other, he attacked Night Sorrow's vitals. The most ruthless part was that his hands were often twisted, and he could attack in the opposite direction. It was extremely strange. Night Sorrow recalled Aoi's words. The number 1 on the Yuan leaderboard was called Shi Yunxiao. His family's innate ability was to counter joint attacks. This Shi Yunhai was naturally a member of the Shi family. Facing such a situation, Night Sorrow pulled out the sky-piercing spear from his waist and engaged in close combat with Shi Yunhai. He relied on the vibration force to restrain his opponent's short blade and then blocked his opponent's fist. However, this was not enough to force Shi Yunhai to retreat. Dong! Night Sorrow exerted force with his right hand and stabbed the reincarnation spear into the limestone floor. Once again, he took out the sky-piercing spear. With the sky-piercing spear in his 2 hands, he executed the wind-chasing spear art and began to randomly stab Shi Yunhai. Sometimes, he even ignored Shi Yunhai's left fist and directly attacked with the sky-piercing spear. It was a completely lose-lose battle. After a few rounds, Shi Yunhai was forced to retreat by Night Sorrow. I say, this method of yours is too shameless. Is there a need to use a mutually destructive method in a competition between fellow disciples? Shi Yunhai said in a somewhat depressed tone. It's not a mutually destructive method. Both of you hit each other at the same time. You'll be heavily injured, but he'll be fine. The Great Elder opened his eyes and said. Is what the Great Elder said true? Shi Yunhai did not doubt the Great Elder. He instinctively looked towards Night Sorrow to seek confirmation. I've been blocking your short blade and ignoring your fist. Your fist can't seriously injure me. At most, it will hurt for a while. I'm willing to accept your fist. If I'm fine, then you admit defeat. Night Sorrow said. He did not want to be entangled in this matter. He could see that Shi Yunhai's attacks were strange and varied, but his strength was insufficient. His speed of true qi was not as fast as Wan Chen's. That's fine. I'm not shameless. In a battle, my left fist can at most use 70% of its strength. Adding in your evasion, I can only use 60% of my strength. If I can't push you back by 3 steps, then I admit defeat. Martial Uncle Chu, if I lose, please give him some time to rest. Shi Yunhai bowed towards Chu Lingxiao. And, although Night Sorrow is at a disadvantage, you're also straightforward. After all, in a battle, you can still throw out such a punch and hit your target. The advantage you have is that you can avoid one of Night Sorrow's attacks. In fact, Night Sorrow will pull back at the end and will not seriously injure you. Chu Lingxiao nodded. Night Sorrow put away his reincarnation spear and the energy of the myriad Tao Tome began to circulate. Come, don't hit my face. Puchi. Shi Yunhai, who was about to throw out a punch, let out a breath and could not help but laugh. Not only Shi Yunhai, but many people also laughed. Night Sorrow's words at such a crucial moment were unbearable and hurt them internally. Night Sorrow spoke very seriously. He was afraid that Shi Yunhai would act recklessly and hit his face. That would not be good. After taking a breath, Shi Yunhai took a step forward and punched Night Sorrow's left shoulder. He did not have any ill intentions and aimed for the chest, lower abdomen, and other vital areas. Bang! After hitting Night Sorrow, Shi Yunhai took 2 steps back. Night Sorrow's body swayed a little, but he stood still. Although it was a little painful, the energy of the myriad Tao Tome circulated 2 rounds and there was no problem. Fine, you're ruthless enough. You took a punch from me, so I owe you a drink. I lose. After cupping his hands towards Night Sorrow, Shi Yunhai looked at Chu Lingxiao and admitted defeat. Night Sorrow, you are now ranked 51st on the Yuan board. Do you want to rest for a while or give up? Chu Lingxiao asked. Night Sorrow shook his left arm and said, No need, I'll continue. I'll challenge 41st, the people on the Yuan board were astonished. Night Sorrow was too savage, almost like a monster. Scammer. Huang Qian looked at Qin Zhan again and came to the stage. Night Sorrow looked at Huang Qian and said, Please enlighten me. I'm not as strong as you, and I'm also not as good as you in close combat. What's the point of fighting? I'll give you the 41st place. When you can challenge your target, beat him up. Martial Uncle Chu, I admit defeat. Huang Qian quickly muttered a few words and then admitted defeat. She knew that she was not Night Sorrow's opponent, so she did not plan to fight to the death. Fine, if you're not satisfied with your current ranking, you can fight your way back. Chu Lingxiao smiled. Thank you for your encouragement, Martial Uncle Chu. I'll see if there are any rookies I can bully. If there are, I'll challenge them. Huang Qian smiled and got off the stage. Night Sorrow, it seems you still want to continue fighting. 31st, who's 31st? Hurry up and come down. Chu Lingxiao did not wait for Night Sorrow to speak and directly shouted at the disciples on the Yuan board. A fair-skinned youth came down and said, Uncle Master Chu, I'm no match for him. Let's not waste time and not block his path. I'm anxious to see which unlucky bastard is causing trouble. He's really in trouble. Good, that's a good attitude. I'll say it again, you all have one chance to challenge. If you're not satisfied with your current name, you can continue to challenge, Chu Lingxiao said. Chapter 137. Next was the 21st place. He was Chang Yuan, a disciple of Green Rock Peak. Night Sorrow had seen this person when Gong Xian had found the entrance to the alternate dimension. After Chang Yuan got on the stage, he looked at Night Sorrow and said, One must know their limits. Biting off more than you can chew won't end well. Why are you talking so much nonsense? You are not qualified to teach me a lesson. After hearing Chang Yuan's words, Night Sorrow was very unhappy. It was mainly because Chang Yuan had used a lecturing tone. Then let me see how strong you are and how fierce your spear technique is. After Chang Yuan finished speaking, he smashed a copper rod in his hand towards Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow did not dodge and swung his reincarnation spear. Bang! With a muffled sound, Night Sorrow took a step back. Chang Yuan also took a few steps back. He was very strong, but with the power of his true qi, he was still inferior to Night Sorrow. After pushing Chang Yuan back, Night Sorrow's feet trembled. He rushed forward and swung his reincarnation spear again towards Chang Yuan's head. Chang Yuan was good at strength but not speed. He could not dodge Night Sorrow's spear at all. He could only hold the copper rod with both hands to block. He had blocked Night Sorrow's spear, but his trembling arms and unstoppable body showed that he was much weaker than Night Sorrow in a head-on collision. Again. Night Sorrow's body spun horizontally in the air. The reincarnation spear once again swung towards Chang Yuan's head. This time, he used the energy in his body. It could be considered Night Sorrow's full strength. Night Sorrow was not afraid of anyone below the third rank, let alone Chang Yuan, who had never cultivated his body. Since Chang Yuan was good at strength, Night Sorrow would defeat him in strength. Bang! Another muffled sound was heard. Chang Yuan's rod was sent flying by Night Sorrow's spear. His hands were bleeding, and the web between his thumb and index finger was split open. His body fell to the ground, and blood slowly seeped out from under his knees. My master, senior brother, and sister can teach me a lesson, but you? Why? Yi Shang coldly glared at Chang Yuan. Night Sorrow wins. Men, help Chang Yuan down, Chu Ling Shao announced the result. Continue or rest. After arranging Chang Yuan's matters, Chu Ling Shao looked at Night Sorrow. Continue. Night Sorrow nodded. A woman walked out from the Yuan ranking. Master, his talent is amazing. I'm not his match. I admit defeat. Yes, everyone's talent is different. A cultivator's achievement depends on one's talent and the other on their hard work. When you see other people's talent, think about their hard work. In the future, you will be able to do the same. Chu Ling Shao said to his disciple. Thank you for your help. Night Sorrow bowed to the woman. Night Sorrow, there are still 10 people in front of you. Who will you choose? Chu Ling Shao knew that the main event was about to begin. Qin Zhan, come out. Night Sorrow finally had to face Qin Zhan. He pointed his reincarnation spear at the Yuan ranking disciple's seat and roared. Now, all the disciples of the Medicine Valley knew who Night Sorrow's target was and who had provoked him. Qin Zhan's face was ashen as he walked out from the Yuan ranking disciple's seat. Let's fight on the arena. Night Sorrow growled at Qin Zhan. You are really aggressive. Do you think I'm afraid of you? Let's see who's afraid of who. Qin Zhan walked onto the arena. I know you're not afraid of me. Otherwise, you wouldn't have blocked the entrance when I came to the Medicine Valley to participate in the disciple recruitment ceremony. However, I want to tell you that I wasn't afraid of you back then and I definitely won't be today, Night Sorrow said as he brandished his reincarnation spear. Night Sorrow's words caused a commotion. Tianyue Peak's Jin Kan and Luo Daoyuan's faces were unsightly because everyone knew what was going on. When Night Sorrow came to participate in the disciple recruitment ceremony, Qin Zhan used his cultivation to bully him. How exciting! Qian Wu's face was ashen as he looked at Jin Kan recently. Su Chenbai had embarrassed him and now Jin Kan was involved in this matter. While they were talking, the two started fighting. At this moment, a very handsome man came to the Yuan ranking disciple's seat. With his arrival, the Yuan ranking disciples quieted down. This person was the first on the Yuan ranking, Shi Yunshao. Cousin is here. I've lost, Shi Yunhai said to Shi Yunshao. You're not convinced. Shi Yunshao sat down and asked. No, I'm convinced, Shi Yunhai said. At the same time, he talked about Night Sorrow's situation. He's very ferocious. He didn't rest and directly rushed to the end to fight Qin Zhan. His target is Qin Zhan, Feng Yan said. I heard their conversation just now. Qin Zhan is indeed a bit outrageous. However, this brat is also quite ferocious, Shi Yunxiao said as he looked at the two who were already fighting on the arena. It's not a brat. It's Martial Uncle, the last disciple of Martial Uncle Liu. Senior brother Shi, how long do you plan to occupy the Yuan ranking? Enlightenment said. A. Unspecified currency first, sent asterisk, I don't intend to continue occupying it. Today, I came out to get some fresh air. After that, I will return to my cultivation retreat. If you want to challenge me, you can just take it, Shi Yunxiao said with a chuckle. The battle on the arena became more intense. Qin Zhan was indeed very strong, or else he wouldn't have been able to occupy 9th place on the Origin Proclamation. He had been in the peak stage of element gathering tier for quite some time, and his cultivation had been stable for a long time. His battle experience was also very rich, and he could be considered to be at the peak of element gathering tier. However, in front of Night Sorrow, he didn't have the slightest bit of advantage. Night Sorrow executed the dragon leap steps to the limit and brandished his reincarnation spear. He flicked, stabbed, smashed, and swept. Spear after spear continuously attacked Qin Zhan. Qin Zhan relied on his movement technique to dodge. He didn't dare to receive Night Sorrow's reincarnation spear head-on. There were many examples of him clashing head-on with Night Sorrow, and none of them had a good ending. The reason he was able to persist was because Qin Zhan's movement technique was indeed very agile. He dodged all of Night Sorrow's attacks. This guy is really embarrassing. He should just run around on the arena. What kind of battle is this? Huang Qian was very dissatisfied with Qin Zhan. If it wasn't for Qin Zhan, she wouldn't have lost her 41st place. Although it's quite embarrassing, Qin Zhan's battle strategy is correct. After all, Night Sorrow's attacks are too fierce. Not only are his attacks fierce, they also have the power of vibration. As long as his weapon touches you, you will be bounced back and unable to continue the battle, Lan Yu said. Interesting. A 4th level element gathering tier martial artist has such battle prowess. Our Medicine Valley actually produced such a heaven-defying character. Shi Yunxiao clenched his hands together, and the joints of his hands made caw-caw sounds. This caused the people on the Origin Proclamation to be stunned. Those who were ranked at the top of the Origin Proclamation were almost all friends. Sometimes, they would even do sect missions together, so they were all familiar with each other. Shi Yunxiao's actions showed that he had the desire to battle. On the arena, Qin Zhan relied on his movement technique to dodge, but was still forced to a corner by Night Sorrow, who was wielding his reincarnation spear. You're tuning in to the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.